All right, hello Lisa.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Tyler.
We have some tequila here.
We do. We've got a reposado tequila.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you. I want to show Pash. Yeah. Pash German for smack.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you how to properly cheers.
Okay.
So you always look your partner in the eye, your person you're cheering in the eye. You say cheers, whatever you want to say, and then you tap the bottom for those who are no longer with us or who could not make it, and then you drink. Technically, oh wow,
That's good.
That's amazing.
Hey, get over here, Nico.
Even in that the silver chrome, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum.
I need to get more
Honey, vanilla.
glasses.
Yeah.
I don't have very many. I don't have very many shot glasses.
Oh, do you know that I collect shot glasses?
It's fun. It's a fun little thing.
I have shot glasses because being a bartender for so long, I have shot glasses from all over the world, from all of my customers that have traveled.
Very cool.
Germany.
That's where I have a friend
Antarctica.
of mine. A friend of mine gave me this Lebanon one.
Oh my gosh, you have
She's
a Lebanon.
From Lebanon.
Wow. Do I have a Lebanon? I have Dubai. My favorite shot glass is hand painted from Israel.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it was really.
I
love
like
that
those
one.
little ones. I need to be better about getting them when I'm traveling. I always in the airport or where I always forget to get something.
Yeah.
But I get people will give them to me sometimes. So I have like a few like random ones, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's and then I got these recently.
They're fantastic.
Stephen has some of these too, but these were so cool. I was like, oh, let me find some, and I found some online.
Yeah, these are like these little Jägermeister shot glasses, and Americans have totally abused the Jägermeister digestif.
You were saying it's
Yeah.
a sipping thing.
It's not meant to shoot back or mix with Red Bull or it's a digestive after a hearty meal.
Yeah.
You eat something really meaty and greasy and rich.
German.
You have a digestive. That's what Fernet Branca is for. Your Amaros are for.
Interesting.
They're for that. So, or cleansing, like Campari you have in the beginning. It's a palate cleanser, right? So it's an aperitif.
I like Campari.
Right.
Aperol.
When I was younger,
They're the same brand, right? Aperol and Campari.
they're in the same family. They're both Italian.
Similar label.
Well, Campari originally came from beetles, these specific red beetles in Italy. It doesn't anymore, but that's what gave it that color.
Yeah.
It was from a bug.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
from a bug.
There was that rumor was going around about Skittles.
Yeah.
I think it was Skittles or M&Ms. They were saying it's a beetle that gives it the red color, and I was like, ugh, I'm still gonna eat them though.
Yeah, when I was younger, again, when I was in like my 20s and early 30s, when people would say, "What is that Campari like?" and I used to say, "It's like licking an ashtray." Now,
Interesting.
that my palate is matured,
Yeah.
I love it.
Huh.
I really love it. It's crazy how the palate matures.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to people that drink wine for the first time, all I taste is the alcohol. But when you walk them through the steps of smell and how it's all connected, then it starts to change. And
We're
then
gonna
we
have to
start
have you over one day to teach us about the tequilas.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I do.
Take it through.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We'll do like a little tasting thing and just go through
With
to learn,
Posh.
to explain.
Yeah.
What you're tasting. Mm-hmm. I definitely know that as I've gotten older, I'm turning into my grandmother because I'm liking licorice. So like when I liked absinthe.
Yes. Anise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
like
it doesn't
anise
take
cookies.
much.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's quick. It's efficient.
Yeah.
You got a buzz real fast from very little.
You would probably really like black sambuca and white sambuca.
Probably.
Yeah.
I definitely. I'm not a huge. Everyone in my family drinks wine, and I'm not. I've never been a huge wine person.
Oh.
It makes me sleepy.
Well, we need to spend time together more, and I need to walk you through because everybody has their varietal. Varietal's a fancy word for grape, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has their wine. My wine is Chardonnay.
Yeah.
I love Chardonnay. I love it.
I like white wine more than red, for sure.
I love reds.
Yeah.
I'm going to do Amarone. I prefer it Italy. I like Amarones, Nebbiolos. But as far as like my go-to is a nice glass of Chardonnay that's not really, really cold because it totally takes the character out. And also, friends don't let friends drink butter Chardonnay. Sorry,
What's
I say that.
What's butter Chardonnay?
It's a brand that has just skyrocketed to the top for people that really don't like wine and all they want to taste is butter. You'll hear people say, "Oh, butter, butter," because we all love butter.
Yeah.
Right? Donuts and croissants and biscuits.
It's funny you say that because I had to learn with Potch, with working with them. I had to learn with, and it's not a paid advertisement or anything. It's just, it happens to be something we work with.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where they were explaining to me after we did a video. They were like, it's a sipping tequila, so you only pour a little bit. You sip on it, you enjoy it. So in the video, I was pouring. We're pouring like we're in college. We're pouring like, you know, because it's for the visual part of the video. It's this, you know, rush of, you know, of liquid, and it's beautiful the way it, you know, the slow motion liquid bouncing around. And so we're thinking of it from that perspective. They're thinking of it from it's a sipping tequila, and the glass is just filling up. And we're like, and so he's like, it's great, it's beautiful. It's just it's right. More of a sipping thing, and this is more like it's gonna get you fucked up. And I was like, oh, that's not the point. Okay.
Right, I know exactly.
I gotcha.
And you'll also notice when you drink it, it changes. Like if you drink it from your tequila aficionados, if you will, they kind of turn a nose up to people who put ice in tequila or chill their tequilas. You know, it does change the character of the tequila, like anything else, right? But that particular tequila is like really good.
It's
like
something
room or cold. Like
we're gonna have to work together on the visual versus the reality. Cause you know, sometimes you want that big ice cube dropping in with the beautiful splash of liquid, and no, it's maybe not what you're supposed to do, but it's pretty. Right. It's beautiful. People are gonna like that look, and it was just funny because he was like, "This is gonna get you fucked up." Yeah. And I'm like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, and there was a little bit of a silence, like a pause, and I was like, "You're right. That's not what you want." And like I was kind of like. Ahead of it, like going, oh, you're right. You know, this
crazy.
Is more of a.
It's that way with whiskey too. It's the same kind of story, you know. And some people like little dabbles of water or whatever it calms the heat down. Like with whiskeys are all overproof. They're hot, and people want to say, just give me a couple drops of water. Yeah, puts the fire out a little bit. So compared to when it's room.
You know, whiskey's another one. Like my brother likes whiskey a lot. I just can't. I can't get into it. I
thought you liked whiskey.
I tried.
Didn't you?
I tried. No. I mean, I would often order it sometimes to force myself to like it because I had nothing else.
Oh, the night is still young.
And I would just be like, you know, this isn't good. This is not good. This is just burning kind of oak barrel feel. Like it's not a good, you know, versus a oak like a kind of a. Like the tequila is a little more smooth and you can taste a little more. Right. But it also might be that I was drinking really cheap whiskey. Right. I don't know.
Well, and two, you embracing the tequila is actually getting your palate kind of ready to embrace whiskeys, because like a lot of tequilas do come from whiskey barrels, if you will. Yeah. And you got to remember the bourbon houses or the whiskey houses, they have these barrels and pyramids, and the ones on the bottom are richer in flavor. It's just like how you would think. But at the top, it's got more sunlight, it's lighter, medium, heavy, you know, so it just depends.
The thing too is that it's kind of one of those things where if you had a bad experience with something, you're off of it. Like I'm off rum forever.
What?
I had one bad experience with rum.
Like I said, we need time.
And I can't stomach the idea of tasting that banana boat flavor ever again.
That's what I'm saying.
So as long as it's not flavored, I've found that I gravitate more towards.
I'm not talking shit about banana boat. I'm not, because I love bananas. Okay,
right.
But you need to experience like diplomatico.
Well, but that's what I mean. I found more real.
Even pirate, like, you know, some rums that are just really tasty, and you could tell it they were loved.
Well, but more so like I've noticed my palate or my tastes. I prefer less additives and less extra flavor, and I just give it to me straight without like the banana flavor or the green apple flavor or the, you know, vodkas.
That's a different category. And that's also a recipe for
I don't like it.
You know,
hangovers
and puke and laying on the, you know, I don't know if you've ever been there. We've all been there where we want to puke, and then you want to lay down on and when you know, in that tile floor, that cold tile floor feels so good on your face. You don't want to drink to that point. You don't want to.
I've done that one time. one time in my life.
Feels so good.
To where I was exactly where
Yeah.
I was like to where I was throwing up the next morning.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It's not fun.
That was it. I was and I have never again, because I just stop. I just am like, well, I just have a bit and then I'm good. Like, I don't need to go that far.
But that's how I feel about Brass Monkey. And I can't have anything and because I've been doing the bar industry, making cocktails most of my entire adult life, and you'll find this in a lot of your bartenders, we tend to veer away from too many. You become purists.
Yeah.
So we tend to drink things straight.
And you're more of like a mixologist per se than a bartender.
Yeah.
I mean, you
crafty, mixy.
You've done things for our team. You've done things with Elton John.
Yep.
You've done things with the Oscar party. You've done things with
SAG.
LA County Fair.
LA County Fair.
You teach. What do you teach?
I teach spirit classes, and not the the ghost spirits. That's another subject, but the alcohol spirits, if you will. That's another word for alcohol spirits. So yeah, I sit on the board for LA County, and we get in a room where we check out of the world for almost 3 days, and all we do is taste over 500 different profiles of alcohol.
So how do you cleanse your palate in between each one? Is there something you do?
Yes. So there's each table is given those thin white wine crackers.
Yeah.
I call them wine crackers, and Graber green olives. That's it. Those are palate cleansing. It helps with palate fatigue. It's really, really hard because right now whiskeys are so into overproofing. When it first launched, it was really like a lot to where my mouth literally was doing this. It was opening up, and I just, I go, I can't taste anymore. I'm done.
You're just stripped the.
Yeah, you could do a full extraction of my teeth, and I'd be like, "What do you do? I don't feel anything," because you can't taste anymore.
It just numbed you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
you
it
score
could do
'em.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's what they used to use back in the day.
Yeah.
White Latin. So, it's very difficult, and for some reason, I always got that table along with the gin table. And I don't know if you're familiar with gins, but gins do tend to be also overproofed. So it was. But you just taste and you spit. We have these buckets in the center, and it's just blah, 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 over and over again. You take notes and you score. 90s, 80s, and 70s, just like A, B, and C.
You had this really funny rant about, well, it was one of my favorite comedians had this rant about gin and shaking versus stirring, and he was just like, it's an in and out martini. You stir it in, you throw it out, you put it back, all these things. And he had this rant. And he was like, when you shake it, you bruise the alcohol, and it was like 30 minutes of like just this is
Right, and bruising is a fancy word, not really that fancy, but it just means you're diluting it with ice, right? Yeah. So, so here's a helpful hint for any future bartender or home bartenders out there. If you want to shake or stir, if it's with any juices or citrus or anything, it's a shaken cocktail. Yeah, a mixer, if you will. But if it's 100% spirit based, like your Manhattans and your, Boulevardiers and your Vespers and your, Negronis, these you want to stir. You want to stir these cocktails. However, unless you're 007, right, who said shaken or stirred, it was because he had to be alert for any fuckery. So
interesting. Is that why? That's interesting.
That's why he wanted it to be diluted.
Maybe I would like that. Maybe I like it a little less.
A lot of people do. A lot of people a friend of mine who lives in Palm Springs, she says it's so funny because here in Palm Springs, everybody likes their martinis shaken, and it's because
they want it diluted.
It's 120 freaking degrees in Palm Springs, so they want to see icicles on their drink. They want everything ice cold because they're on fire over there. Right. So. That makes sense. That's the other thing with bartending is, even though you're reading something how it's supposed to be, right? That's fine. That's great. You have that knowledge, but you also want to go with, what are your guests? What do they want? Right. And what's the overall average? What's your surroundings like? It's like, oh my God, they want me to shake a Manhattan. I am not shaking a Manhattan. Yes, you are. If your guest, if your guest asks you, I want my Manhattan shaken. You don't make a face, you smile, and you do it.
Well, that's the thing.
You put your bartender bullshit on the shelf.
Because I know enough bartenders to know they judge secretly.
I'm not going to sugar your rim. Yes, you are. If they want to sugar your, because, and this is what's happening a lot today, Jicky, is today's bartenders, that they're mistaking their job for being as if it's a privilege for you to be sitting with me as your bartender.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm going to serve the cocktail the way it's supposed to be. I don't care what you think or feel. And that's like, wait a minute. No, you can't do that, man.
Yeah.
Like you can with some people. Like some people want your expertise, but a lot of people know exactly how they want their drink, and you're living off your gratuities. Well, that's what your life is from. It's gratuities.
That's like going to a steakhouse and demanding, that they eat it the way you want to cook it.
Yeah.
And they do suggest, we suggest it medium or medium rare or whatever. But if someone's
want it well done.
It's like, okay, well, fine. It's
and just know that it's going to take about 45 minutes.
Here's your piece of beef jerky.
Yeah.
Here you go. But you do it because they're paying, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
But I always remember that there was I think it was a meme or something like that, but it was people, what bartenders think of people when they order drinks.
I saw that.
It was a list of all of them, and it was like an old fashioned, we get it, you think you're Don Draper, shaken martini, and we get it, you think you're James Bond. And I'm thinking, what can I order without sounding like a tool?
Well, it's like, it's kind of like when somebody wants to like correct somebody's grammar.
Right.
And that's how you have to treat bartending. It's like, I'm silently correcting you in my mind,
right.
but I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to let you say at. Where do you live at?
Yeah.
No, it's where do you live? And the answer is at. So, and that was actually brought to my attention by a patron. Yeah, irregardless. Yeah, that's another one.
It's not a word.
It's not a word.
It's, but we've accepted it as being, okay. No,
okay.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I
think ain't was that way, wasn't it? Like, ain't was never a word, and now it is actually it's now in the dictionary.
But that's well past that. There's plenty of words in there now that have been invented since then, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
But, no, I definitely, it's a fascinating world, and that's not the only thing that you're here to talk about.
That's right.
It's such an interesting
and ever changing, ever evolving. Never stop. I never ever want to stop learning. And
there's trends and stuff that you have to keep up.
1000%. Like right now, the trend is, since there's overproofing, now the trend is zero proofing, zero proof alcohol.
And explain to someone who maybe doesn't know.
Yeah,
what
so
does proofing mean? You've
got these brands coming out, Damrack, Seedlip. You've got these, they even make a alcohol-free wine called Free, F-R-E, but it's basically mocktailing, creating a cocktail that has zero alcohol in it. And, when it first launched, I kind of was like, are you freaking kidding me? Because it's like all it is distilled water, and you can flavor it. You can make your own distilled zero proof, but there is a process and a beauty to it. I'm learning, and it's very popular right now. Is people that want to look like they're keeping up with the party, but they're not. They're not. Yeah.
That's me.
It's less fun though. I will say for me it is fun, but it's, at the same time it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like working at Disneyland, where you're just like, I should have never worked here because I really like the idea of Disneyland. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this.
The reason you like it is because it's special, because you don't go very often. When you're there every day.
Yeah. Or living in Las Vegas, it's like, damn.
Right.
It's over. Like that fantasy is over.
Yeah.
But everything still stays there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always an interesting thing about, and that's in Vegas in particular, because we've had opportunities to be there more often, or move there or live there. And it's always been like, do I want to live there though? It's fun when you go, because it's fun and everything's lit up and open, and it's
then you go to North Las Vegas where the real people live, or Summerlin.
Yeah, and it's quiet and normal.
Whatever. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it wouldn't, the specialness of it would be gone in about a week. Same as living anywhere though.
Yeah.
If you have an amazing vacation spot that you love to go on, it's best not to live there.
Yeah.
Make it special.
Yeah, but I love New York.
You know, but well, things like that is one thing. But if you're like living in Hawaii,
Yeah,
or living,
my family
you know,
lived there. Yeah,
it definitely gets more normal.
Mm-hmm.
Then it just becomes, well, this is just where I am, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not as special
I
anymore.
will say I recently finally went to Hawaii. I went on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It's my first Christmas without being with my family because of I recently divorced,
Yeah.
and after a 20-year marriage, and I have these customers, my regulars, who also became my friends. Were like, Lisa, come with us. Just come. The prices were unbelievable, and they were. And I took Hawaiian Airlines, and I've got to tell you, I wasn't wowed by Hawaii. It kind of looks like, you know, Oahu itself looks like Long Beach a little bit mixed with Laguna. Like a lot. There's a coves that look a lot like Laguna. I'm
At
like,
least for me, and at least that's the island that all the tourists go to.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that the other islands don't, because tourists go to all of them. But
yeah,
but that's the one that reminded me of like Vegas on the water.
yeah,
And Maui and
the Big Island.
a big island, but Maui particularly. At least when I haven't been in like 8 years.
Yeah,
And I love Hawaii, but I know that it's gotten busier and more. They've developed a lot.
yeah.
And they're kind of taking away some of the natural beauty of it.
What's up with all the cog running around there? There's the wild roosters all over
Really?
Hawaii. Yeah.
How do they even get that?
I have no idea, but they're stunning. I went hiking.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I went hiking, and I'm like, this island has a lot of wild cog.
Yeah.
But they're all everywhere. Roosters everywhere.
Interesting. Well, I
Yeah.
know like the problem with like the wild boars and stuff, but I never knew that. Like,
Oh, I would have loved to run to a
a
wild
ton
boar.
of chickens running around. It's
A
weird.
ton of them.
That's weird.
It's bizarre.
Well, that's yeah. So anyway, even more so if you like that kind of jungle, you know, off the beaten track.
I loved
you know,
it. That's why I'm gonna go to
there's
the Big Island next.
Kauai, and then there's Maui.
Kauai is the one I was trying to remember. I was trying to remember the other.
There's a few others too.
Yeah.
There's you know, but it's a like Oahu for me was more. We went to the Pearl Harbor thing. We saw we went
And
to
I glimpsed at
Waikiki.
that.
Waikiki is cool. It's
Yeah,
neat.
that's where I stayed, Waikiki.
But it's kind of too busy to be relaxing for me.
Yeah.
And
To me, it's very touristy, shopping mecca
I
now.
don't like going to a luau and I want to go, you know, into the jungle or go
That's what I
or
did.
drive around the coast and see different things. That's
I
the
did
beauty
that
for me.
in our rented
Yeah.
Jeep
That's
Gladiator.
the best way to go.
Top
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
I got lost on my own because the girls that I went with, I love them so much. All they wanted to do, because they had to work too.
The touristy stuff.
No. They wanted to veg out on the beach, like because
I get it.
and
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that too. Like I'm like, but they've been to Hawaii before. I've never been before.
Yeah.
My family lives on the North Shore, and you know, because of COVID, you know, I couldn't really visit them, which was kind of a bummer. But I saw my cousin shop sea maids.
I'll never forget, at least the time I was on Waikiki, the only time I've been, because every other time I've been to Maui.
Yeah,
I was swimming and there was a turtle, a big
that's
turtle.
what I wanted to see. I wanted to see
It
a
was like
sea
this
turtle,
big.
man.
I mean, I was younger, so I mean, I
Damn.
wasn't that small. I mean, I was about the same size I am now. So he was like this big. And he popped up, looked at me, blew some bubbles, and went back underwater. It was pretty cool.
Oh man.
And it's a beautiful island. It's just too busy for me.
Yeah.
And I don't like being around all the tourists all the time.
All the time.
I don't want to, you know, I'm not like one of those people either that's like, you know, no, I want the authentic experience, and
Yeah.
all you should shut up about it. Like, you know,
Right.
it's
I just want to hike.
I want to be somewhere where it's a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
And relaxing. Turks and Caicos was like that for us.
Yeah.
We went to Turks
Oh,
and Caicos.
okay, I might do that.
And it's
Puerto Rico. You know.
you need a passport. It's a British island technically.
Really?
They have a bunch of them in the Caribbean still.
See, I didn't know that.
And you bring your passport, and everyone speaks English, so it's pretty easy.
Oh, nice.
Anguilla, Turks and Caicos, but I've never been to those other ones. I went to Turks and Caicos because I had a friend of mine who we were doing a business together at the time. And I went down to just visit and go on vacation.
Yeah.
We ended up getting an Airbnb that was at like a bed and breakfast kind of thing, but it was like a hotel, but it was like 5 rooms on the water.
Yeah.
And I mean, I forget the name of it, but it was beautiful. The water was the color of like turquoise.
It's unbelievable.
Clear water.
Yeah.
And
Puerto Rico's like that in Vieques.
nothing that I've ever seen. And some amazing food.
Yeah.
Very, very easy culture. They're very relaxed and chill and very nice and easy to get around. The only thing it is British, so they're like the lanes are switched, so I had to learn to drive on the left.
Oh shit!
So the second I pulled out, I was wrong. I was like, "Fuck."
Were the steering wheels on the correct side, like ours?
The wrong side.
Oh, they're on the
other side,
like
not wrong
British.
side, left side.
The British way.
Right side.
You mad?
Right side. So it was weird because it was,
Yeah.
and then, but then by the first day I was used to it, and then when I got back in my car, I was like, "Fuck, I gotta get back
I know.
to this now."
Is it automatic?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And it was the same brake and gas.
Yeah.
It was just that I was on the other side, so it was took a couple tries to get used
I would
to.
have fucked up. I would have.
But it was.
I just would have been screwed
I think
up.
they're used to it, but
Yeah.
it
My
was,
right foot now instead of the
but
left.
very inexpensive.
Oh.
Very inexpensive. I mean, our rooms were like, and these were. I mean, it was a brand new place. So
Yeah.
It was almost like being on the Titanic when there's, it's
Not
brand
a
new bed
good
sheets.
reference.
You know,
Right.
but I mean, just it's brand new. So even if you're in third class, it's nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the huge, mega, beautiful, suites and stuff that they had on different hotels, but this one was just a basic, nice. It would be. It's like probably like a 4-star, 3-star hotel, but it was nice. It was
Nice.
clean.
That's how,
I don't
yeah.
care. It just needs to be clean.
Yeah.
As long as it's clean.
Yeah.
Like I prefer places that have like hardwood or tile.
Yeah.
As long as there's not a lot of like grungy carpet, I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah.
But this was a beautiful place. This couple from Chicago had moved down there and started this bed and breakfast. I don't know how it's doing now because of COVID and everything, but
Yeah.
it was gorgeous.
I will say, because we stayed at the Halipuna, and it was really nice like that. But every single bathroom at the Halipuna is a bidet.
Interesting.
I have to have one now.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Every home should be a bidet.
Yeah.
Like, then that toilet paper craze would have like totally been like not even an issue.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It'd just been like, stay at home. You got your bidet.
Very
you're
European.
good. Yeah, you get the warmth. You get the warm seat. You get the booty. You get the front.
Yeah.
And then you get the air. And then
Yeah.
you get up and you're like, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's I think down there too was the same way. But
I loved it.
But it was just one of those places where it was just like every place that we tried had good food.
Yeah.
Everything was relaxed. We did the beach thing. We hung out. We chilled.
Yep.
It was you kind of there's locals there that will show you around different things, and it's like really really relaxing. It's nice.
Yeah. See,
but
I like that.
because it's like you're in a foreign country because you're technically, when you get off the plane, there's a picture of the Queen. It's a whole thing. Like, it's
Queen
a whole,
Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a different country.
Yeah.
And there's a Union Jack on the tarmac and everything. It's different country. But
Wow.
But at the same time, it's not far enough if they were like all speaking French, or they were all to where I would feel like I don't know if I can get around, or if I don't know, to where I would want someone like if I was to go to Japan, I would want someone with me who spoke Japanese, so
Right.
I didn't feel like I'm just
Sure.
like,
Or you can use your Google
where
Translator.
the hell am I? You
Right.
know? Traveling wise, though,
Yeah.
I felt fine to travel
Sure.
wherever.
Yeah.
And for as much of a small island as it is, I think it took about 2 hours to get across the whole thing.
Wow.
And we would go from one end to the other and
It's like
try
Puerto
different
Rico.
restaurants and stuff. It's gorgeous. It was a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah.
But
I gotta check it out.
very similar to Hawaii, but I felt like it was cheaper. And the Hawaiians right now are a little over, like, there's too many people going.
It's a lot.
And they're just like,
Especially
give
right
us a
now.
break.
I was going to go the first week of May just to go
But because
again.
it's so easy, you don't need a
It's-
passport, you don't
it's
need anything. You just hop on a plane. Yeah.
47 right now. 347 for a round trip ticket to Hawaii right now. It's crazy. On Hawaiian
But no,
Airlines.
I even found the last.
Love that airline.
I had been looking to go instead of the Turks and Caicos trip, which was for work. So it was one of those things where I was like, well, it's better to go here because I can, I can do some things there while I'm there as well, and not feel like I'm just taking a week
Yeah.
off. But we were looking at Hawaii too, but it was expensive.
It's expensive. And it's a tourist trap.
Yeah,
It just is.
and it's gotten much more touristy.
Ugh. Yeah.
And
no, thank you.
I'm okay with a bit.
A little bit here and there.
It's fine.
But when you can't get on a little train to go around the Dole Plantation because the Dole Plantation's not regulating the population that's going in there,
Yeah.
I got a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I did go to the swap meet, and I got some killer
That's kinda
shit
fun.
there. That's where you got to go. You got to
Yeah.
go to the swap meet.
I still have. I don't have it out here, but I used to have. I had it somewhere. It's like a little like carved like little tiki head thing.
Yeah,
that
those are
little,
great.
like old man made, and it was cool. I mean, it's very touristy and very.
Yeah.
I'm sure he makes like 20 of them a day, but like it was like he made it though, and it
Yeah.
was this really cool thing, and I have it, and it's a great place, a beautiful culture and people and food and everything, but
Yeah.
it's Oahu especially and is very
Tourist trap.
It's just too touristy. It's like it almost feels like they're turning it into Disneyland,
Yeah.
you know, and that has a time and place. But
It does. It
sometimes-
looks like downtown Disney.
Sometimes you just want to go
Long Beach. I saw
up a winding road where there's nothing there, and
Yeah.
and so you have to find somewhere else to do that.
Yeah.
Maui is a little bit better.
I went to
but
that blowhole thing where it blows through the.
like the geyser.
Yeah,
thing.
I went and I saw that. That side was really cool. That beach over on that side, that was
I didn't
really
ever see
spooky.
that.
A lot of memorials set up for boogie boarders that have died on that beach. Yeah.
Really?
Oh man, tons of them
Interesting.
that just get ripped because
Yeah.
the currents come at you in both directions.
And Oahu has the crazy tides, the North Shore
Yeah.
and all that as well. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty. It's a beautiful chain of islands, but they're all different.
Yeah.
Each island is so different,
Yeah.
and so if you don't like that one, you might like a different one.
Yeah. Exactly.
And just you have to trial and error it. But Turks and Caicos was spectacular.
Yeah.
I didn't have.
I'm
one,
gonna put that on my list.
I didn't
man.
have one bad word about it, and it was cheap. I don't know about now, but it was at the time.
Oh, it's gonna be cheap.
It was $150 a night before COVID.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Now there's some $3,000 a night.
No, thank you.
Mega suites
No.
on the beach.
I'm never gonna be in there.
I was like, it'd be fun just to go one night just to do that, but I was like, that's so expensive that I couldn't even
I feel like I
that's
have
the
to
whole
stay there to
trip.
like get my money's worth. Like,
Yeah, it was. I think I think it was $150 or so a night for this Airbnb, and it was beautiful.
yeah, just want to sleep, get up, get
They
up,
made us
get
breakfast
out.
every morning.
Oh, I love
It was one
that.
of those things where it was very
I like breakfast.
homey and cool, and left you alone, and
Yeah.
really great.
I'm more of a breakfast person than a dinner person, so that's my style.
I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah, I really love breakfast.
I was just talking about this with someone where we were kind of like, you're not a breakfast person. I was like, I am if it's a good breakfast. If it's a good
I wake up hungry.
breakfast, it's amazing.
Yeah.
If it's not, then I'm just going to have my shake and go.
Yeah.
Because I don't,
I can't do that.
I don't need it, but I
Yeah.
will eat it.
Yeah,
If it's a,
I think that's going to be a little hashtag. I don't need
don't
it, but
need
I'm
it.
eat it. I'm
I
just
have
saying.
no problem with
You
with
can use that with food,
food
sex,
related,
anything.
yeah. It's yeah. But I can eat dinner too.
Me too.
When I
honey.
was just at your bar, I was eating that whole dinner.
I
was
know.
like,
that was good. Wasn't that
holy
good?
shit, that was good.
Yeah, Tutamangia is an amazing restaurant. It's there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So you were on vacation. You were
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting away.
Yeah.
Why don't you take me back though to the beginning of your whole journey?
Oh.
So
How-
why don't you? Because I know there's been a lot that's happened to you in a little bit amount of time.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell me kind of where you and tell everybody where you started from and kind of
Well,
what made you you.
what made me me? That's a good. That's really like that's huge. So yeah, I mean, wow, what made me me is a lot. So, when I like I said, I was really lucky to be part of the generation that I'm a part of, because in the 70s it was really cool to be a kid. It was really cool to be a little kid in the 70s. I had a mongoose. I had an Evel Knievel mongoose that I used to ride around without my top on and wearing my shorts and my tennies and didn't give a crap. And all we did was build hills to do, we used to ride our bikes off of them and jump off of them. And my brother was the king of that. I do have a brother, and it's his birthday today.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
happy birthday, Mike!
Yeah, I know. Mike's 2 years older than me, and he was the daredevil in our family, and he did he could have really been something. He had baseball scouts looking at him before the age of 13, because he was already throwing 80 to 90 mile per hour pitches.
And where were you guys growing up? In Southern California?
La Puente, California. My mother got a job when she was 15 years old. She had lied to get this job. called Kalmar, and they were responsible. She can name every, you don't have one here on the table, but she knows every little part of a squirt bottle, like Windex.
Yeah.
Every little thing that's inside there, her company made those.
Okay.
And she worked the line and making all of that, and she was with that company for 45 years.
Wow.
Before it sold itself to Mexico. And they offered my mother basically everything that they could to get her to move down there, because she was the talent that they needed, of course, to reignite that company in Mexico. And she said, hell no, I'm not leaving my family. My mother is a very, very outspoken, outgoing, funny, sweet, kind, guilt-ridden Puerto Rican woman.
Guilt-ridden.
Yeah. How come you don't come over?
Is that a hallmark of the Puerto Rican community?
Oh my God, everything is fun. You know, if you're, it's
guilt the children.
Guilt. You must go. You have to do this. You must, and you know, and that's just part of that generation. You know, if you don't show up for them, but you know to show up for me, is her attitude. You know. Yeah. And, you know, everything is very sacred when it comes to Puerto Rican cooking. When I say, Mom, I want to learn how to make arroz con gandules. And she says, oh, no. No. And it takes, Mom, it's rice and saffron. And I go, no. There's all kinds of recipes. So when I went to my, I've always been a snooper. And I'm sorry, I just am. It's just who I am. I think it's my way of getting to know where I am or a situation or who you are or whatever. I'm a snooper. I'm putting it out. A snooper. I snoop.
You look around.
Yeah, that's what I do.
You sniff out something that's not right.
I want to know what the fuck's going on. Okay. And I noticed my grandfather, I went to use his bathroom, which I should never do. This is when he moved to Missouri. And I looked at his desk and he had all these index cards, this book of recipes. My grandfather had 7 children. So he had index cards in different ways to make arroz con gandules, because it was Priscilla's way, my mom's way, Ruthie's way, Cindy's way. So he knew what ways to kind of do this a little bit more, do that a little bit more. And they're all on these index cards. And
I think every family has those index cards. The ones with the little lines. Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the secret, with the pencil. Mm-hmm. They drew for some reason they wrote the
empanadas, pernil, all that stuff. So everything's very sacred, you know. It's like, Mom, come on. So, but yeah, man, she worked there for a very, very long time, and we lived in this apartment complex off Leverett, and oh my gosh, I'm glad I mentioned that, because when I say that word, I get triggered, and I'm remembering being a little kid. My mom had friends over. She had a bunch of friends over. And back in the 70s, this had to be maybe 1974, 75. And I'm 4 years old. And my mom says, whatever you kids do, it was me, my brother Mike, my cousin Marcus, my cousin Matthew. Whatever you kids do, you do not come out of this bedroom. I don't care what it is. And they gave us a Viewmaster.
What's a Viewmaster?
Viewmaster was this thing that was real popular with kids, where you can go and you could click. You get a plain white wall.
Of slides.
We call them Viewmasters,
like the
right?
little slideshow looking things.
And you also had the handheld ones that you can look through and click. You'd put a little disc in it, and you could click, and it would go in circles, and you'd look at pictures.
I have one
Jungle
still
Book.
from SeaWorld when I was in it was like 1996 because my brother was he was in a stroller.
I think it came from Kodak Viewmaster.
And you put it through the sun and you can see the picture.
Yeah. Well, we lived off those, and we would watch whole movies on these Viewmasters, because there wasn't videotape back then. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that. Right. So you would click and, oh my God. And so my brothers and my cousins were just rambunctious. And I was the kid since I was little. I've always gotten thirsty. I always want a drink of water. I always want, and I go, I gotta know what's going on out there. I gotta get a drink of water, even though Mom told me not to go out there. And I opened the door and I saw that the living room was dark with this movie. They were doing a movie night. And full on old film reel, with the film thing. With the film. I can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's showing on this.
I'm not good with sound effects.
I got you.
Yeah.
And there was this, white screen that pulled out.
Yeah.
And I'm crawling on all fours going to my mom, nice and slow. And I'm looking at the screen. I go up against the chair. Nobody sees me. And I'm little. So I'm underneath this like armrest, and I'm looking at this movie that they're watching, and it's this white woman in a nightie, and these two men come and rob her, and they end up having sex. It was my first view of a porn film.
Gosh.
And that was what was normal back then. They would have parties just watching porn. Nobody did anything. They'd drink, they'd smoke, they'd hang out.
It was just like a
That's what you did. Just
adult thing.
That was what adults did, just like the Pussycat Theater. If you look up the history of the Pussycat Theater when it first launched, the biggest names in celebrity went to the grand opening for Deep Throat.
Mm-hmm.
It was what you did. And you went home and you banged your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Like, you didn't do it there in public yet, right? But
Yeah, that came later.
That came later in life, you know. But that's what it was like an in thing to do. It was like us going to a premiere. You know, it was just
sophisticated.
Go out to dinner and let's go watch rated X films.
Right, exactly.
That's what you did before they were considered smut.
Right.
Because it was an art form.
Once they became, you know, public and low class, then it became, we don't do that anymore.
My mother, I go, Mom, what is that? And I remember her jumping out of that chair and screaming and hooting and hollering. I never saw the lights turn on and a film reel just go snap and quicker. Once they realized I was in the room, and I got in trouble, but I was like, I'm thirsty.
No wonder they don't want you to leave the room.
I was so thirsty.
So you were thirsty and you wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted water. And so, but I'll never forget that film. I'll never forget what I saw. And it stays with you. And just like when I was little, when the last time my father, when he was alive, and he died at 22 in 1972, I was 2 years old, but I remember it because I told my mom I thought I was dreaming when I was older. And I told her the story of being up in the air and seeing furniture move around and being outside and seeing my dad walk away. And he turned around and he said, you stay right there.
Yeah.
Your mom's going to get you. And my mom was just so taken back by that. And I said, and I also see myself like looking at a hippopotamus and there's gunfire and I'm thrown into your arms. And she just was so taken away by that because she said, you know, the hippopotamus was your dad always took you to Disneyland. Always. And that was the jungle ride. Mm-hmm. And your dad held you over the boat acting like he was feeding you to the hippopotamus. But that stayed with me. I'm like barely turning 2. And then he used to make us hide my father used to make my mother go out on the street, stick her thumb out for hitchhiking, and we'd all hide in the bushes. And he'd make my mom go put her thumb out, and then they'd pull over, and then she goes, hold on, I gotta go get my kids. Or we'd just come running out of the bushes. She wouldn't even say that. My mom said we'd come running out of the bushes and get in the car. Fuck. Yeah. Thought I was getting some hot Puerto Rican lady. Yeah. And the other thing was she was throwing out his drugs, and he never hit my mother and said he was...
Your dad was Puerto Rican too?
No, my dad's German.
So he was German. Mm-hmm. So you're half Puerto Rican, half German.
Mm-hmm. Half honky. I'm half honky, half Hispanic. Half Hispanic, half honky. But yeah, so my dad and my mom, they met very, very young. My mom had my brother when she was 15 going on 16.
Oh, wow.
And she had me 18 going on 19. And during that time, it was no bueno.
Yeah.
No bueno. In fact, my mom went through a lot as a kid because, you know, she didn't know what she knows now. Later on in life, she answered an ad in the LA Times because it sounded familiar to her. Whatever. And I always wondered, like, when my mom would read things, she would read things out loud and then keep reading, like, that's how she read. And I remember one time I came home and she's talking and she says, Lisa, I'm writing this thing. How do you spell has? Mm-hmm. And I thought, Mom, it's H-A-S. Wait a minute, what is it? And I knew something was wrong. But I didn't question it. I just was like, maybe she's just having a moment. You know? And I understand now why maybe my mom's attention turned to a boy so young because she was struggling in school. And they also put her in classes where it was with Down syndrome kids. Oh. So my mom always, pretty much to this day, kind of has PTSD with Down syndrome kids. Because
interesting.
Back then it was just different. Now she's better, but, you know, to be this kid that they don't understand, that can't really read or spell, but...
They just kind of shoved everyone together no matter what was wrong.
Right.
Whether they
didn't know what it was.
Disability, or whether you were physically disabled.
If you're a learning disability,
they just shoved them
you
all
have
into one
Down syndrome. Right. Anything.
And I suppose that was a better step above what they did a couple decades earlier, which was put you in an asylum.
Yeah. Have you put away.
Yeah.
So she answered some ad from UCLA, was doing a test, and she was in this room with a bunch of people, and they gave my mom an assignment, and they paged her, Rachel Green, could you please come here, please? And she goes over she's like, we just sat down, I just answered one question. And the doctor looked at her and they go, Rachel, and they give her a couple of things, and he looked at her. She answered the question. He looked at her and he says, Rachel, you are full-blown dyslexic.
Oh.
You are dyslexic to the core. Well, what's that?
Yeah.
He says, well, you see this instead of this.
Yeah.
You see that instead of this. Yeah. She goes, yeah, that's how I read it. And he goes, yeah, you're dyslexic.
Now, how do they fix that? Do they?
There's ways and tricks that he taught her to look at things.
To help.
To her read certain words, or this is how so she basically had to relearn certain alphabet, the way it should look, the whole thing.
Is it numbers and letters and
numbers
stuff?
and letters, yeah.
L and 1 and different things like that, yeah.
All sorts of things. And on top of it, my mom's kind of hard of hearing from working in a factory for 45 years. So that's how it was tough on her, so.
Nosy. Come on.
Go on over there. He's so damn cute.
He knows he's not supposed to be. He's been good the last few episodes, but he doesn't. He's sticking his head up.
Yeah.
That's interesting though. Dyslexia is quite the. It's not like it's.
I don't fully understand it. I just get it because my mom always struggled with.
Is it hereditary or is it not?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else in my family is dyslexic. I know that just my mom had this issue. So, there's so much stuff. Every family has a story and a background, and I don't know. I don't know the full story on all 7 kids, but it's. My mom is treated like the oldest. In total, my grandmother had 9 children, but my mom is the rock of the family. Everybody turns to my mom, and sometimes it could be kind of a good thing, and then she does put herself there in a way, but it's also a bad thing because everybody else is kind of spread out. Let my mom have let my mom handle it. Let her deal with it. And she's like, damn it. So, but now at this age, I'm there for her, telling her, Mom, say no.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no. Do it.
Not my circus.
Not my circus. Not my monkeys, man. Why am I the only one doing this? So that's her.
So they inevitably, they separated.
My dad passed away. He was actually killed that day. So
when he left,
when they told me, when my mother said, you have that memory, that was the day your father died, because she was throwing his drugs down the drain, and because he didn't hit her, he would throw the furniture around. And I remember I was probably in her arms. And so then, because she was throwing all of his marijuana down the sink, he got mad and left the house. She says, oh, no, if you're leaving, you're taking your daughter with you. That's why she stuck me outside. He got into a vehicle with 3 other guys out over on Valley Boulevard. And he was in the back seat, I believe. And the windows were down. And back then, nobody wore seatbelts.
Right.
Nobody wore seatbelts. This is the generation of riding in the back of the truck. This is the generation of, And so when they ripped around the corner, they fishtailed. And my father was ejected from the seat and was crushed between 2 vehicles. And everything was internal. Nothing was external as far as his injuries. And he was 22 years old. Wow. Yeah. He was in the Marine Corps. He didn't pass boot camp. I have letters from him writing to my mom. He hates it. He hates to be controlled or told what to do. He doesn't like that routine. And he kept AWOLing. And so they kicked him out. And this is like...
In the 70s?
No.
60s?
Is late 60s. This is the heart of Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
So back then you were considered a deserter.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's not a deserter. He didn't want to fucking be there.
Yeah.
He just didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be treated that way. And it wasn't his jam.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't that way. So I'll never know what he could have ever been, but it's a trip. And my brother has a different dad. who never came for him. So that was very traumatizing to Mike. And Mike was also severely sexually abused, and just abused in general. So he dove into drugs and deep into crack cocaine.
And that was when he was young.
Yeah, at 13, he was still rocking baseball. Unbelievable baseball player. Fantastic skateboarder. Like pipeline. We're talking flying in the air, flipping around, doing all kinds. I mean, he loved that. He loved that stuff. Yeah. And then he just started hanging around some gang members from the Crips. And my brother looks African American. He looks black. He looks like a black guy. He's very dark. He had a Jerry curl. He looked like a black guy. In fact, growing up, he would tell people, that's not my sister, because I look. He backed me in a corner one day and he says, "Stop telling people you're my sister." I go, "You told them I was your girlfriend? I'm your sister." He goes, "They're not going to believe that I'm black." Like, "You're not black. Mom was never with a black guy. So what?" He was telling everybody at school his dad was black.
So was he Puerto Rican?
Puerto Rican and Mexican.
Oh,
his
he
dad,
just happened to be dark.
He just was Mike's very dark.
Yeah.
To this day, he's very dark.
That's funny.
In fact, when he would go to jail, they would put him with the blacks.
He got some good friends, so he was like,
yeah.
No.
He hung around the wrong people. I remember the first time he came home with the first stolen purse. He stole a purse.
No.
I'll never forget that. It was this cool jean purse, and he was so happy that he got away with it, and it was just bizarre.
Yeah.
You know?
And why do you think that was? Do you think it was just...
I think everything that Mike did was because of the abuse that he received as a child. Now, mind you, my mother had no idea. My mother's a kid. My mother quit school, worked. She worked from 5:30 in the morning until 3 p.m. every day of our natural born lives as children. And so we were latchkey kids as well. Yeah. And, so most of the time, my grandmother watched us, but every now and then a friend would watch us, and it would be either their sibling that would fuck with us or somebody else in the house that would fuck with us. Right? And so, I remember one lady, her name was Julie, and I think this is why I have such a huge fetish for, not fetish, but I have a passion for, I like watching 70s game shows. I love them. And it was because that's what...
Like the Gong Show? And
I loved the Gong Show. Tattletales, Match Game, Blockers. And I loved To Tell the Truth, Password. The password is... I love that kind of stuff, right? And because that's where I would go to escape from the realities of what's going on in the house. And I loved The Price is Right, and I loved all that. Family Feud launched. Oh my God, Yeah. And so I don't know why. To this day, I still love them. And I remember, Julie had this yardstick, man. It was metal and it made a noise when she was swinging it on my brother. And I remember that. I remember him because he was so out of control. Mike was so out of control, and it's because he was abused. My mother had no idea. We didn't talk about it back then.
Yeah, no.
You didn't talk about sexual abuse.
You just shove it down.
Right. He even messed a little bit with me, and all of us did, because all of us were touched in that way from somebody's family member that was an outsider that took an opportunity to come in and abuse us.
Right.
Right. Mike was he was a handful for my mother. So he went to rehab after being massively addicted to drugs, and I'll skate over a lot of detail about what was going on, but that would be a podcast that would last about 3 days. So let's not do that. I will jump to when Mike was about, I was 12, 13, so Mike would have been 14, 15, and he went to a rehab in Brea, and it was a lockdown facility for drug treatment for kids. He did Charter Oak and Wisconsin and all of that. None of those places helped my brother. In fact, it's hard for these places to help kids, because at the end of the day, it's up to the kid that wants the help,
And that's a hard age to
Your
come
brain's
to terms
not
with
fully
something
developed,
and develop. It's different when you're an adult and you kind of can wrap your head around what happened and why and that kind of thing. But a 13-year-old or 15-year-old or 14-year-old.
Yeah, and it was It was the Brea. It was right here in Brea. It was a rehab, and I can still, like, when I hear certain K-rock music, I get triggered, and I'll still smell the room. And I remember us being in this big circle, all these parents and family members of these troubled kids, including my brother, who was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
This bullshit fucking shit, you know. And the door would open late, and there was Angie Dickinson. And Angie Dickinson was the biggest movie star in the 60s and 70s, early 80s. She did Dress to Kill with Michael Caine, and she was policewoman. She was Pepper. She was in the original Ocean's 11. And she had her daughter, Nikki Bacharach, with Burt Bacharach, who has written some of the most amazing music in the world. That's what friends are for. Yeah. Right? And so my favorite is this man's in love with you. Anyway, he sat right next to me, and their daughter, Nikki Bacharach, was a patient there. And we got to know Angie Dickinson really, really well. That chick was into astrology so hard, she turned me onto it. She was so super cool. She loved my brother. I'll never forget, there was like this opinion section or something that parents would talk about their kids. And Angie looks over at my brother. She says, I think Michael is so sexy, so handsome. He's going to grow up to be a gorgeous man. And I thought that was bizarre. But it was cool at the same time. I know that was her way of complimenting him. But, Nikki was just, wow. And I later on learned, Angie Dickinson and my mom became friends, and Burt Bacharach came around a few times. He was busy, you know, and he was constantly working. And at that time, he got remarried to Carol Bear Sager. They wrote Arthur for the movie Arthur, and the soundtrack anyway. And that was during that time when Arthur was released. And come to find out, sadly, that Nikki ended up taking her life, and later on, and I'm sure that was very heartbreaking. But my brother did see in rehab, he saw the shit that kids shouldn't see. His roommate ran through the glass window. Full speed ahead. He had to get out so bad. He ran through the glass window, and of course didn't make it. You know, brother watched him die, like right there. Yeah. But that's a lot for a kid to see, you know. So yeah, my brother now is borderline schizophrenic from so much drug abuse, and eats at the brain. And he has a hard time keeping his legs still when he sits. And but I know he's got inside there is this trapped kid still, you know. I rarely talk to him. He has 3 beautiful children from 3 beautiful women. And I'm very close with his babies. They're my babies. But yeah, Mike is, what's crazy is he's so baked, but he's still very, very handsome. He's a good-looking guy, man. He's still got a thing with the ladies. So, but he's out there. But he developed this fetish. He was banned from 911. He was banned from calling the FBI because he was constantly calling the FBI.
You can get banned from calling the FBI and 911? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
So if he calls
it's a blacklist,
and
a 5150 list or something.
Is it by like phone number or is it by? Oh, okay.
Well, they just automatically know, and
they're kind of like, yeah, sure.
They just hang up on you, or you don't even answer the call, or it's cut off.
Well, that sucks.
See, they got the bug on me, sis.
What if it was real that time?
I know.
Oh no,
it's crazy. You know, he
cried wolf.
Yeah, he just. It's so weird because all the drugs that Mike took, you think that he would take the drugs that make it stop, and he finally is.
Okay.
You think he would take the drugs to make it stop? It's crazy.
You're big on addiction and you know, getting that message to people.
Yeah, big time.
I've known that about you for a while. You've always been very, and I didn't know that's why. That must be why.
Yeah, yeah, including food addiction. Because that is an addiction. That's my vice is food. That's what I turn to when I'm upset or sad, and I'm not blaming my mother at all because it was given to her as well. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you did. If you got a grade that was amazing, let's go eat. If you were sad that day, it's all right, Mia, let's get in the car and go to Johnny's Shrimp Boat. Where you get the double bagged fries because it's so greasy.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Oh my God.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah. Or I couldn't.
Go.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It starts becoming
the
like
sun's out.
You're celebrating.
You get one whiff of that
Anything.
in and out, and you think about that shake, and it's euphoria.
Yeah.
It's a euphoric feeling, and that is a drug, man. That's a drug. Food is a drug.
Yeah.
It can be. It's everything. It's all the elements. It's got the fat. It's got the sugar. It's got the and that's why everybody tries to fucking manipulate it with diets. They try to. At the end of the day, you don't need to eliminate anything. You just gotta watch
the quantity and how
the
often.
quantity, how often. Don't eat more than you move.
Yeah.
Go
sit on the treadmill for 2 hours
Yeah.
and be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
man.
deserve it now.
Yes, exactly.
No, I relate to that because I definitely, when I have nothing going on or nothing, or if I'm relaxing, then we're like, let's get something good. It's easy to get into.
And don't
that
put me in
where
front of, don't put me in front of a computer.
Yeah.
That's when I want to snack the most.
Yeah.
It's the snacking. It's the chips, man. My favorite thing to do, which even when I think about it now, I'm like a heroin addict. Like I like to, this is bizarre. I mean, not bizarre. It's pretty common. It's very infantile. I like to take chips and I put them on a paper plate and I put a bunch of cheese all over it and I throw it in the microwave and zap it and let it melt. And I like when it gets kind of hardened. Oh
like
my
a kid.
It's the
kid
best.
nacho. That and there's that dip that my grandma used to make. That my mom makes it for they make it like at Super Bowl. It's just sour cream and that bag of green onion.
Oh yeah.
Seasoning. It's like a really salty seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And
we use it.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so good.
The green onion. Mm-hmm.
So good. The green one.
That's one we always get. You take that little packet, you put it in a pack of sour cream,
stir it up, you're done. Yeah, I could eat it with a spoon. It's insane.
Who created that? Who did that?
But that mental, there's that mental
it's a trigger.
It kind of goes.
It feeds the control.
I need more. And it's a very If you were, if I was to be a sad mood or angry mood, and I had that in front of me, I would just eat the whole thing.
Oh, 150,000%.
It's now it's better addiction than heroin.
Yeah.
Or cocaine.
Yeah.
But it does behave in that way. Like you kind of go to that.
Yeah.
Grab it, and so I can relate to that for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you're just if you're happy with doing it or you're happy with eating it, that's one thing. But when you feel like you're like, why am I eating this?
Yeah.
That's when there's a little bit of some kind of mental thing.
Absolutely.
How did you get from? We were just talking about you were in the area 13, 14-ish. You were in high school?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. High school. That's a really great part of my life is junior high school, even elementary school. I mean, all of that's really, really epic. But I had a really great elementary school. I went to Yorbita first in La Puente. And this is a really great story. They have those big slides as a kid. It has a canopy and 2 stairs that go up and the monkey bars on it. And there's that big fat slide in the front. And, I developed at an age where I wanted to do what the boys were doing, where they started running up in the opposite direction rather than sliding down. Mm-hmm. And they would successfully run up it. Yeah. I thought, that's cool, you know. And so my dumbass goes running up it, and I slip, and I landed right on my hoo-ha, as hard as you can imagine. And I remember all I'm seeing is my head, I see feet running towards me, the daycare teachers. And I'm lying in the sand like, oh, my God.
What just happened?
And I couldn't close my legs. My legs stayed out like a butterfly. That's the only way it felt good. And my choncha was black and blue. And I'm laying on my Aunt Cindy's bed, and my mom, my aunt, my other aunt, all 4 of my aunts are right here, all with their heads looking at my choncha. I don't know. I don't see it. Do you see anything? No, it looks okay to me. I don't know. hi, what's going on? And I'm like, what are they doing? And I'm just like, why are they looking at me down there?
Yeah.
And my grandmother walks in, who always had a pot with her and a spoon. Everybody got fed on plates.
She was always cooking.
She would walk in there like this. And she never ate from a plate. She always ate from like this. And she always had the spoon because everybody's sitting down and eating. And Grandma only had time
to cook and cook.
To cook, eat, and then immediately start cleaning.
Yeah.
And so she looks at my choncha and she says, no, it's fine. It's still tight. She's good. And so later on in life, I asked my mom, what were you looking at? And she says, we were trying to see if you popped your cherry.
Oh, no.
There's no blood on there. She's fine. She's eating avena. She's like,
and so you'd fallen on a slide?
Yeah, my coochie hit the perfect metal bearing.
The point part?
No, it was smooth. Yeah, the edge.
The edge.
Just,
Yeah. No, I've fallen on that too.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had ice pack on it. I'll never forget that. Well, that's the most action I ever got in my life. No. But yeah, it was really great. And then Yerbita was a really cool school because it was a school that had periods like junior high and high school.
Okay.
You had your nutrition class.
You cycled around different classes.
Yes. Never saw that before. When I came closer to Pomona. When I came to Pomona, it wasn't like that. It was one class.
Yeah, that's
one
how
time.
Elementary school is,
right?
For the most part.
It was awful. I was like my attention
and
span.
If you don't like the teacher,
yeah,
that's it for the year. Like you have one teacher for a year.
That's it. That's it.
So you
Mrs. Machernik, my 4th grade teacher. That's when I came to Kingsley. Yerbita was great, but when I went to Kingsley, it was different. A different scene altogether. We would watch The Electric Company. There was a lot of movie watching in that class. And then when we went to Mr. Gray, I remember we had this math book in our desk. We never opened it. All year. He was not a math teacher. He loved reading. He loved English. He loved blubber. He loved Judy Blume. He loved and none of us were our names. We were all nicknames. I was Cookie. I mean, we all had nicknames. Every kid had nicknames. And I was in the class and I was sitting behind this boy that every little girl had a crush on. And including myself, but I never wanted to let him know. Can I wear your jacket, Jason? Can I wear your jacket? And girls would do that all the time. He'd be like, yeah. And the girls would take turns. He looked like, he was that average, like, do you watch TikTok? Do you know who Whitey is on TikTok? He's super popular. He's hot. He's singing all the 70s songs. Yeah. He looked a lot like Whitey, that look with the blue, green eyes and the brown hair. But Jason's very tan. He's Hawaiian. Very tan. And Hawaiian and Irish or some shit. And I instantly...
The cute kid in elementary school that for some reason was cute, but hadn't gone through puberty
fell madly in love with this person. I want to say that's the first time I felt love in my heart for a boy. Like, I was like, I love him so much, but I'll never tell him, and I'll never act on it. And so in 6th grade, because I was at home, and I was writing this pretend love letter to him in 6th grade. And his nickname, by the way, in 5th grade was Star. And my best friend, Cassandra, she was 10. Her nickname was 10. I wrote this love letter. She stayed the night at my house, and she says, what is this? And I go, it's a love letter. It's a pretend love letter I wrote to Jason about it. I could never give it to him, never. She goes, Lisa, this letter is so good. You should give it to him. Give it to him. And I go, I better not. She goes, we'll just erase your name on the end of it. He'll never know. Let's make him wonder. And she says, this is a really good, and she really did mean it. She thought that this letter was...
She wasn't being a bitch.
No,
This is great. Let's give it to him.
No. Cassandra...
He's going to love it.
Cassandra, believe it or not, to Cassandra to this day...
Cassandra's a bitch.
Hey, she's my best friend.
I don't believe that. I don't... I've known those girls.
She's always had my back.
I've known those girls. Those girls are
Come
now.
to find out later on, she did kiss him. And I'm like, Cassandra kissed her really because she was beautiful.
Her name's Cassandra? Give me a break.
Cassandra. Yeah. And
She might be cool.
yeah,
But
she's stunning.
for the purpose of this story,
She's so beautiful.
Cassandra, you are.
Right. And she talked me into giving, you know what it is? She knew that I really, really had a soft spot for him. And, cause I was pretty athletic. I was very athletic.
This kid has no interest in any of that. He's
I
probably
did what the boys did. She and I were the
like
only
focusing on sports.
He doesn't give a
He
shit,
doesn't
right?
give a shit about any of you.
No, none of us. And Cassandra and I were the only girls allowed in the boys' club, and we had this tree, and we would smoke paper, and we thought we were the shit. And Bradley was in this branch, and Mark was in this branch, and
Smoke paper isn't like a euphemism. It's like you.
we really did. We rolled up white paper and we smoked it, and we thought we were smoking cigarettes. We were mimicking cigarettes, right? And so then, before that letter, I remember the bell ringing. This is really cool because this came to my mind, and I thought, I got to tell you this part. I was a very athletic kid, and I loved the monkey bars. We did cherry drops. I don't know if you know what a cherry drop is. Cherry drop is when a kid goes up to the pull-up bars. Mm-hmm. And instead of pull-ups, you're putting your legs up like this. Like you take your legs over the bar and you're hanging. And you hang upside down. And then you drop. And you land on your feet. Or you land on your knees. Or you land on your tummy. That's a cherry drop.
I think we called them suicides. What do we call
I think
them?
they were called suicides later. We called them cherry drops.
Yeah, at the time. I think we got a little darker.
I had those down. I'd land around on my feet. And I would take the jacket and I would tie it on the bar and I would do spins. I loved spinning. We got this cool Tarzan rope thing where you would run and all the kids would fly in the air. We were all flying in the air, holding onto this rope. None of us were touching the ground. The thing would rise up. And you had these kids dangling on these ropes, swinging around this thing until it would finally kind of slow down, and then it would kind of lower us down, and we would go off. It was the coolest until one kid flew off and broke his arm, and they got rid of that rope thing. I loved that thing.
Yeah. They slowly did that with everything.
Everything, man. All the cool shit, man. So
or what happened was they replaced what I always remember growing up was every time when I graduated like 6th grade, they replaced all of the old stuff and put in like a new stuff. Amazing thing.
Plastic,
like,
kind of, I don't know, fiberglass.
Whatever it was, but it was like really like, at least the one that they did was really like complex and cool and had walkways, and it had like multiple layers and all these things. The one we had before was like a slide. Yeah. And they took that away and put this huge thing in.
You'll break your face open. You'll crack your head open.
Well, the one they put in was worse. For that, it was tall. It was like 2 layers, two stories, and it was like all these crazy things. But we were, I graduated, so like the younger kids got to enjoy it. But
today, when you go into a kid's playground, most of them have installed this ground that's almost buoyant.
It's the rubber stuff, right?
I go, what a bunch of pansies. When I was a kid, it was either concrete or hard dirt.
We had sand.
We had some underneath the cherry drop, the pull-up bar. We had some
of sand. It was everything was sand. That was the weird thing.
You freaking.
But then it was like
wussies.
It was like cat. Like cats would go like use it as a litter box.
Yeah, so that's why they stopped.
So they stopped using.
Well, that's when the ringworm was going around like crazy.
They stopped using that. And then they put in wood chips.
Remember wood chips?
Was really
we didn't have wood chips.
That was a very poor decision.
Very poor.
If you fall on that shit, it hurts.
It hurts and it stinks.
And you I don't so much mind that. You fall from onto wood chips.
Yeah.
It's like they're in you, like they stick in your skin and they're all. And then after, I think eventually they put in the rubber.
Yeah, and you get splinters in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the teachers on this particular day removed the tether balls. Tether balls used to hang like crazy on these poles.
Yeah, we used to have those too.
Right. And
kids would run into them.
Right. And so you had to go and ask for the tether ball, and they would put it on. Yeah. So the bell rang, and I don't know what it was in me. I ran full blast to that pole with no tether ball on it, and I jumped to the very, very top, and I swung all the way down and landed. I was literally doing pole dancing before. I was doing what was now called Tinkerbell in the pole dancing world or whatever. And that was the first time I caught Jason's attention. He thought that I was the shit for doing that. He saw me do that. That was the first time I ever caught that guy's attention. I jumped on that pole, and I crawled up it, and then I swung. But when I first ran, you had to run full blast. And I got so high, I got air and landed on it and swung all the way down. I watched that boy run back and forth to try to capture air the way that I did until he perfected it. And all the kids were doing that on these poles. I created this craze of swinging on the pole. It was really, really, really cool. I thought this is the first time I caught his attention. And I was also really good in baseball, like my brother. It just runs in our family, and I was a slugger. And Mr. Clark put me on his team. He wanted me on the team, and he also put me on a wrestling team because I said I want to wrestle because I loved wrestling. And it was co-ed wrestling, and I remember all the kids, and I went up against Gary Clark, this big boy, and he came next to me, and we were wrestling, and he looked just like little Michael Jackson. He was so cute. And I threw him over my shoulder and landed, and everybody's like, whoa! I was picking up people and throwing them across. I threw the farthest shot put. Like, I held the record for throwing this shot put that out of all the boys, I threw this shot put like to the moon. Like, even, are you kidding me? And they wrote it down. They gave me this big ribbon and this trophy, and they were taking pictures of it. I threw this thing far. And came Jason's turn for me to wrestle, take Jason to the ground. And I never fell on my back so fast like he. I'm like, oh, you win. And so, moving on to junior high school, junior high was the best. That's when Erotic City came out. I did have a 6th grade teacher, by the way, from Oklahoma that humiliated me in front of the classroom because he was a Marine Corps, hardcore Oklahoma dude. Mm-hmm. That when he would be angry, we had our desks lined up this way, and instead of coming around to talk to you, he would walk through us where the kids would move, and he'd walk through like he was Godzilla or something. Yeah. And he did it all the time. And overbearing. He threw me in front of the classroom because I had lied about my math work and tore it up. I got so mad that I got an F on it because I wasn't comprehending math. Mm-hmm. That's my whole point about the no math. Mrs. Macharnik, I'm sure she's long gone, so I apologize. My 4th grade teacher, my 5th grade teacher, but I was very good in English. I was very good in reading. I was very good writing, poetry, expression, all of that. My 6th grade teacher was very, very math-oriented and very disciplined with coloring. I learned every bone of the human body, and I had to color everything up and down, never this way. It had to be up and down. Up and down, up and down. And he even gave us all razor blades where that would never happen today. Fuck. He gave us freaking X-Acto knives to sharpen our pencils.
We had those little, like,
today
there's razors in them. There's razors in them.
Yeah.
The little, like, pencil sharpeners have razors in them. We have those.
We
didn't have, like, the ones that were open. They were in the little machine.
No, these were razor blades, And, yeah, he used me as an example in front of a class. He called me up to the front, and because we were supposed to take nobody did good on this hardcore math. It was an 8-page math test. None of us passed. He was livid, and especially with me because I got so angry that I tore it up, put it in the trash can, and he made me go dig it out because my good friend at the time, still remained my good friend, rest in peace, Denise. She told Mr. Clark that I did that, and he put me in front of the classroom, and he made me tape all the math pieces back together again, and said, "This is the student that tries to fool me." Like, he used me as that example, and
he's got
yeah. Don't fool me. And he looks. I'm sitting there looking up. I look up to
He's got to have a win at some point in his
life.
Yeah.
I go, who told on me? She goes, I did. I'm so sorry. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually the first student. This is a wacky generation of that generation. I was the first female. I think I was the only female that got paddled in front of the classroom.
They only used to paddle boys.
Oh yeah. I want to say I was the only girl. Maybe Kathy was, but no, he took me in front of the classroom. This teacher built his own paddle. It was thick and had holes in it with a handle. He broke it on one of the students' butt. He hit him so hard. Like, this was that generation.
I know my grandma broke it on my aunt.
Yep. See, you just.
She probably deserved it.
She probably deserved it. I don't even know what I got paddled for. I can't even remember. I think it was that mouth thing. I'm not sure. I remember he was just on one that day. He did to John and to Troy. He destroyed their rear derrieres. They couldn't sit down. They had to fold their jacket up. And I remember being in an office. This would never happen today. It was with my principal and my 6th grade teacher. And I knew I was going to get paddled, and I thought I was okay when they're trying to get into my brain and they're talking about me. And the principal sat there as he watched my 6th grade teacher have me bend over and paddle my ass right in front of him. Looking back, that's fucking bizarre. And they didn't even tell my mom. You didn't need a permission slip back then. You just did it.
I mean, I went to Catholic boys' school, and there was a story about one of the priests that was older by that point. But he used to take, like, if there was someone who had done something to someone else, like a student bullying someone or something. Yeah. He took him in the middle of the quad and beat the crap out of him.
Oh my God.
And this was probably like the 60s, 70s, maybe. I mean, and they were 16.
Yeah.
In the 60s, so this was a long time ago. But it was one of those things where it was just like, he used to do what? And it was like, he would like smack the kid in front of everyone for bullying some kid or something. So it's like in the, the heart's in the right place. I suppose, but you don't I don't think you're
smack a kid around.
You're not supposed to beat the shit out of
Let's rethink this situation.
I don't know if it made him stop. I don't think so, but I mean, at least that situation, they were older. Yeah. It's weird thinking of like a kid.
Think about it. I'm 10 years old.
Like an 8-year-old kid.
I'm a 9-year-old. It's bizarre.
It's
weird. It's just that era. And when I hear certain music, because music is still my life. So like when I hear anything Loverboy, everybody's working for the weekend, or hit me with your best shot. All of that is my 6th grade. Like all of that is. And
great songs. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the year when roller skating was really hot. Roller disco. And it was,
those are coming back.
Boogie Wonderland. Ha, ha. Anything Bee Gees, anything Shadow Dancing.
Kind of Motown
Andy
era.
Gibb, the Bee Gees. Yeah. A little bit of Motown, but mostly disco. Mostly like the Spinners, Whisperers. Yeah, the Lakeside, GQ, Cher. Take me home, take me home. All of that was there. Again, the kings of disco was the Bee Gees.
This was the 80s, right?
This is 70s. This is 70s going 70s. Into 80s. 78, 79, 80. 77, 76 is when disco was hot. And it still stayed hot.
Even the early 80s.
You make me feel like that's all. Yeah.
The early 80s even looked like the 70s.
It did. That's the early 80s,
The one thing I always felt a little bit confused by, because when you think of the 70s, you think like that 70s show, like 70s, like 77. Yeah. But like 1970 was more like the 60s than it was the 70s.
It was. It was the adjustment.
Right. And then 1980 was more like the 70s than it was the 80s. Because you think of the 80s, you think of all like the big hair and the go-go's and like the whole...
I still like get in shock when I think...
Duran, that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But that wasn't until like a little bit later.
When I think of Rocky, I was there in the movie theater when Rocky came out. That was 76. Yeah. And it's bizarre because to me it feels like the 80s.
The rest of them came through. Yeah. Maybe that's why.
Well, Rocky 3, because Rocky 2 was like right after Rocky.
Star Wars is that way. Star Wars always gets considered to be
Star
kind
Wars
of an 80s
was
thing.
my mom's first date with my stepdad, who's now my stepdad now. He took us to see Star Wars.
But that's a 70s thing that always gets kind of lumped in with the 80s because more of them came out in the 80s.
Right. It's crazy.
And so you kind of, but even...
Well, and Stallone's popularity really skyrocketed in the 80s.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger too.
Yeah, just...
All those people, they started in the 70s, but then they continued. And it's like 85 was like the 80s. Yeah. But 80 was more like the 70s. It's
loved Sylvester Stallone. Oh my God, I had him all. I was always torn between him and John Travolta, and it was just like yum, yum, yum. And then oh my God, I like Italian guys. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's but and then came Rob Lowe, but he just changed everything. But
Robert Downey Jr. was his big first era, and then he kind of went through his little.
Let me tell you. I'll segue from that really quick. In 1992, 91, 92, I was at a King George V. It was in Santa Monica, and I went there for St. Patrick's Day or New Year's, something like that.
You went to King George V on Patrick's Day?
Mm-hmm. And it was, but it was, I can't remember if it was people, because these Scottish, the bagpipers would come in there. I think it was a New Year's Eve party. Ugh. And they would,
yeah.
And I was like, and then the guys inside
would
go
those
nuts.
are my ancestors. I hate that noise.
And
it's noise.
I'm sitting there.
It's just.
I bizarrely love them.
I would like to know. My grandma does too. I would love to know how they work.
Yeah.
Because they look like. I'm sure
we had a bagpipe player in my high school.
There's something inside
Andrew.
them, obviously, that's like making the.
It's the air and the.
But just the fact that it's in the bag, it looks like.
It controls the sound. I know.
It's the worst sound.
And they have to blow through it
Earth.
and control it with the buttons. And but we're sitting at this bar. On this bar table, and this man keeps nudging my back, and I'm with my best friend Joe at the time, Joanne, and we're sitting there, and I'm just like, this guy, what the fuck? And I never turned around, and my girlfriend looks, and she looks at me, and she goes, don't turn around. The guy that's pumping you is Robert Downey Jr.
And really?
And I go, shut up. Oh my God.
Hi.
I go, hi. He goes, hey girls, hey, how's it going? I go, it's going good. And then he kept walking. He was so wired. He was with some bald, sweaty guy. He was high as fuck. He was high. His eyes were like two
but nice
coins. Yeah, he was so sweet. So sweet. He was like, hi girls. Hi. And we only knew him from Less Than Zero at that time.
I didn't realize how big.
Weird Science.
I didn't realize how big he was until I had seen him in a few things, but I didn't. Really,
and I knew his dad, like his.
I knew him I know him as Iron Man,
which is so funny.
That's. Now, when I was your age the equivalent of your age at that time, he was not around. He wasn't even.
It's when he started going through jumping his whole, through people's houses and sleeping in their kids' bed.
He was going through it tough.
Thank God he survived that.
But he turned it around.
He did. He turned it around.
I always found
because you know what, that guy's he's so amazingly talented because he still worked. He never
sharp
brought
and
that.
funny too.
Never
He's
took
so
that shit to the movie set. Like boom, just like Charlie Sheen. What's that camera turned on?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And it was like that was their
professional
escape.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this person that I'm going to wow you. Platoon's my favorite war film of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Charlie Sheen fucked up. I get it. I have a soft spot for Charlie Sheen. I know addiction, just like with Robert Downey Jr. I know what addiction is. I get it.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. When you're that high, I can't even describe it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I found out about all that stuff later. Because I didn't realize people would always make a comment like, oh no, he's it's good he's back, or it's good he's this is the kind of thing like.
Yeah.
Or it's great to see him, and you're just kind of like, huh?
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's kind of that when you get famous young, and you're, everyone wants to take your picture. Everyone wants to be.
It's too much for somebody young.
Good.
It's too. I would never ever. Everybody wanted me to put my daughter in movies.
He's one of the most interesting people now. To listen like in interviews and stuff because he's just so you can tell he's just so grateful.
He survived.
He's so just measured and but he knows he must just have just so much experience of just different.
You imagine all the shit he's seen and the things
incredible.
He knows.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So when you start,
especially when your life's falling apart in front of everyone,
right in front of you,
in front of everyone,
and you're the cause of it, or you're in it.
And when you succeed, when people are successful, people love to see you crash and burn.
Oh, yeah.
So when people...
Haters going to hate.
Yeah. When people, he was this heartthrob, big, famous guy.
Yeah.
They love, and whether they admit it or not, they love to see that.
Yeah.
That, collapse. And just because it makes them feel better about themselves. Because
Well,
they
and
didn't
also-
do anything with their life, so they're happy to see you.
Well, they're also thinking it's an opportunity for them to get his parts.
Well, that too, but I mean just the public. People love, they love watching people fall apart.
Correct.
That's what happened to Britney Spears. People, if there wasn't an interest in seeing her going through a struggle, she wouldn't have had people following her around.
That's right.
Princess Diana, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with,
Princess Diana.
anyone else. People, when your life kind of starts to, and you're in the public, and your life falls apart, people just, they can't get enough of it.
No.
and it makes it worse because then there's more people trying to get at you, and then it's like a circle that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
So for him to be able to come through that,
it's incredible.
it was incredible.
Yeah, and he's very, very, very small. He's a very short guy.
Is he really?
Yeah,
he always looked like moderate,
breathtakingly handsome.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah,
I mean, one or the other.
I'd marry him. I'd go out. I wouldn't kick him out of bed.
I always say, if you're short,
everything's easy access.
Every coach seat's first class. You want to be in coach and be 6'5", go ahead.
Shit goes down. I can throw him over my shoulders and run. But
I'm at 5'11", and sometimes
is 5'11" really a height? I mean, come on.
I'm 5'11".
You're either 6 feet or 5'10". What's this 5'11" bullshit?
I would say 6 feet.
Jesus.
If I think I could get away with 6 feet, I would get away with 6
You're
feet.
tall.
I'm 5'11".
Wow.
And it's a sucky height because it's like you're just there.
I just don't believe that height.
Right there.
I know.
You're right there, and you're just so close.
Yeah.
And I had someone measure me again because I had a different.
It's so bizarre.
Whenever you go to the
men.
doctor,
I have to have a tall guy.
Whenever you go to the doctor, that's always different.
Yeah.
You're 5'10". You're 6 foot. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I finally had it redone again recently, and was like, okay, I'm barefoot.
Yeah.
Not wearing Timberlands to get to the 6 foot mark.
Yeah.
Are
there lifts inside Timberlands?
Right.
Oh shit.
They're just naturally.
I'm wearing lifts.
They're
right
like
now. I got lifts on.
They're naturally maybe an inch or two taller. So
I'm 5'3", so
put you over the edge.
Yeah. Anybody's taller than me,
but anyway,
I'd like over 6 feet.
Being in a tight space like a plane.
Yeah.
I always think about that. I'm like, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I would love to be 6'4".
Yeah. Oh yes.
But I would hate it right now.
Yeah.
When I'm in a plane or a bus,
right?
Or something.
Or getting in my Prius. Yeah.
So it's small victories.
But you sure are 6'4". Yum yum.
So back to what we were talking about before we kind of went off.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr.,
which is a good topic.
Right now. Yeah, music triggers things. So when I went into junior high school,
dance and music.
Then it's all about,
Tell me about your high school.
Oh my God, high school again, dance, music. I went to a predominantly black high school. It was predominantly just of color, not just black. There was a lot of Latinos, and here I am, this mixed child. Who was raised because my father passed away when I was 2 years old. I was raised mostly from my Latin
side.
Yeah, man. I was food, the dancing, the celebrations, Dia de San Juan, all that stuff. I mean, Puerto Ricans are proud, and when you even have a drop of it in your blood, it's like a badge of honor, because it's just they're small and mighty, and so. It's a big culture. So, going into this high school, it was also the linger. I used to trade, by the way, Rob Lowe pictures for Duran Duran Pictures in junior high. And so when I went to high school, I was a really hardcore Duran Duran fan. And I wore a hat, but I also was a Boy George fan, like nobody else. Yeah. I'll never forget when I first saw Boy George launch on television. It was like, what is this? This is before they, that, them, whatever.
All that stuff, yeah.
All of it. I didn't even know the word drag queen.
So many of them, though, in the 80s were... That's what I don't get about people complaining today. I'm like, the kids, the Gen Z, the kids, they dress weird. Did you look at what they wore in the 80s?
Yeah, because Boy George was this Elizabeth Taylor boy. And he looked like her. Mm-hmm. And he had this voice that was angelic. And in time you could have been so much more. And that was, everybody wanted to dance like him, look like him. Especially the girls. The girls wanted that. And it was oh my God. It's kind of like when people probably first saw my David Bowie. David Bowie, when they first saw him do Ziggy Stardust, because I remember looking at the albums like crazy in my uncle's room, thinking, is that a man? Is that a woman? It was David Bowie as Ziggy Stardust, so that's what it was like with Boy George. It was that era. So by the time I went into high school, by the way, the biggest song in eighth grade was Erotic City from Prince, and we used to do this dance called Freak. And that's when kids would get together and kind of like interlace their legs and kind of like basically hump on each other, but it was to the beat of "We can fuck until the dawn, making love to cherry stone, erotic city, can't you see? Fuck's up," right? And we would do this dance, and of course, fuck wasn't edited out of the song. It was played in junior high dance, and the teachers were more concerned about the kids humping on each other, and it was hilarious. I got best dressed in 8th grade along with a couple other kids, and because I was Miss Fashionista. I used to wear vintage clothes and wear big baggy pants with suspenders and big jackets. I loved that look, and I dressed like I was a 40s gangster, and I made sure everything was right into a T when I'd go to school, and it was really cool. So when high school came, I was going through this kind of Boy George Duran hip hop infusion, and it was a very dancey. Music was huge, and it was Pomona High was something else. It was it had its gangs, but it mostly had just a bunch of horny teenagers trying to find themselves. We had a smoking section. Kids can go and smoke cigarettes, cloves.
Smoking section in high school?
Yeah, because there was no age limit back then. Oh, wow. The 18 and over didn't happen till way later.
Interesting.
So yeah, kids would go and have smokes.
Yeah.
We smoked cloves. A lot of the emo kids, we didn't call them emo, we called them goth back then, and they would go wear their creepers, and everybody looked like Robert, what's his name? The lead singer of The Cure. They all looked like him. and it was a combination of cholas, gothic people in this smoking section. That's where I first saw my first human tooth, because a big fight broke out and the tooth landed like right in front of me from the root. Like it was perfect tooth.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when I developed a crush. And Jason, the boy that I was madly in love with in elementary school, he and I were buddies, dancing buddies by this time. And I still secretly loved him. And I got a thrill instead of setting him up with girlfriends that I knew that were his type, because that made me happy. The kids were hanging out in the smoking section. There was this little chola group. Cholas are a slang for like usually Mexican gangs. They've been around forever. And you have cholos and cholas, and you have everybody in Pomona had their sections. You had Cherryville, you had now South Side, North Side. But the black community had a lot more sections in Pomona. There's the Islands, Sin Town, the Village, Ghost Town, Neckland. These all represented gang areas. The Islands sat between Laverne and Arrow Highway in the city of Pomona. Lovejoy, Manville, all that area was considered for the Bloods, right? And so nobody walked through there. That was a big thing. You don't walk through there, and whatever. It was like, oh, don't ever walk through there. You get your ass kicked. But it also was a combination of Pomona Northsiders. And I went to high school with all these kids. So there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of fighting in the hallways. There was a lot of that. And then you had me, Miss Social Butterfly, and I ended up crushing on this kid who looked absolutely stunning to me. He was this hot, serious-faced Mexicano, and he was a Northsider, and I decided I wanted to be a chola to get close to him. And because a lot of the girls already knew my reputation, because in junior high I did get in a couple fights because I didn't like seeing bigger kids pick on smaller kids. I wasn't like my friend Rachel. She was an ass kicker. She literally was Madonna before Madonna was Madonna popular. Like, she looked like Madonna. She had that attitude like Madonna. Like, if she thought you were hot, she would walk right up to you and make out with you. Like, she did that. That's what she did. And I remember reading that Madonna used to do that. I'm like, that's Rachel. She did that all through school. She absolutely, any boy she wanted, she could have him. Like, she was the shit. And oh my God. And then you had another kid, Mary, and she was, I know I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but it's all going to come together. Mary was the only girl. She was like Carrie, the movie Carrie, where all the kids made fun of her because she was different. That was Mary. And when she walked across the stage, I remember people booing and throwing shit at her, and Rachel was just like, yeah, motherfuckers. Like, and it's like we all didn't want her to feel that way, you know. I don't know why that had happened, other than the fact that her mom was hotter than hell and she was giving action to the young guys. Anyway, but Rachel was a little ass kicker, and everybody was afraid of her because she wasn't afraid to knock you down where you stood. Like, that's what she did. So, but in high school, it was very, you had all these different people. And so when I decided to be a chola to get close to Gabriel, the girls didn't jump me in because they all knew that I could kick their asses, and I could. And so we would ditch, and I learned how to ditch in 7th grade and didn't know what ditching was, and until Lisa, my friend Lisa, I'll say her full name, Lisa Hutchinson, because she was a badass. She was incredible. I remember closing my locker, getting ready to go to class, and she's standing there. When I closed the locker, I looked at her, she goes, hey, you want to ditch? What's that? Meet me here tomorrow and I'll show you how, because you live right there, right? I go, yeah, I'm going to show you. That girl taught me how to ditch, and that was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because I thought, shit, man, I don't have to go to school.
Oh, no.
So
kind of. Yeah.
Right? So, and we just did it to do it, and I just was like, this isn't right. Of course, I got my ass kicked. My mom found out. But in high school, when I hung out and ditched a couple times for these parties were really huge in the 80s. Teenage parties were really huge in the 80s. Teenage drinking, punk bands, funk DJs. I don't know how we put these parties together as teenage kids, but we did. We had parties that were unforgettable. The best parties, never before, never since has there been parties like this. A surge of parties with kegers. Yeah. And we were kids. None of us were 21. Who the hell was buying all the alcohol? We couldn't figure this out, when I talk about my friends when we got older, like, who the fuck bought all the booze? We were always pumping the beer and drinking the beer, and who bought all that shit, And but it was always there. Cisco was real big. It was this malt liquor. Malt liquor was huge. You had Cisco's and old English 800s. They called them 8 balls. We had Mickey's and all this. This is what we drank. Mad Dog 2020, Night Train. These are the shit that kids got a hold of. I know there was a liquor store in Pomona that didn't card anybody, and some of the kids bought their liquor there. To this day, they don't card. But so I'm not saying their name. But so. I went to this cholo, my first cholo party, and the guy that I liked was never there. And I'm hanging around all these, and they called me, they gave me a nickname, by the way. There was like Puppet, Joker, right? There's like, Jerry, and there's all these names for Toro, Onyx, all this stuff. I was Happy. They called me La Happy. And they never messed with me. And I remember I had a cholo boyfriend. His name was Santos, and it lasted for about 5 minutes. It was the most horrific kiss I ever received in my life. And I remember, I went through that phase with them. It was harmless. I was a chola for 3 months. It was great. I hung out with them. I don't know what happened to any of those kids to this day. And then I just started hanging around more of the hip hop group. There was this kid named Joe Arthur that ended up going berserk in the high school and beat up the proctors and beat up the teachers and beat up other students, and none of us ever saw him again. And I think that's what ignited our principal to bring in a DJ at lunch hour.
Oh, okay.
And what turned into what's happening ended up turning into the most unbelievable hip-hop dancing.
That's smart, though.
The fighting the violence dropped to almost a zero. It turned into dance-offs, cha-cha-chas, Cabbage Patch, RoboCop, Troop, the WAP, Freddy Krueger, the Crip Walk, what's that? The Moon, that Michael Jackson, Moonwalk, pop locking, break dancing, all of that was huge in my high school. And I was a part of that. You know, I did all that type of dancing, and we would hold our burgers or our burritos in our hands, and we would went from walking over to be curious, like, why is this music playing? We would run to that gymnasium, and it was Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we would just big circles and kids in the center doing all these moves and pop locking and doing all this incredible stuff. Our cheerleaders were badass. Like, our cheerleaders just boom, 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 and they'd go out there and they would do the dancing was incredible, and it was in my school. It was really, really awesome. And I developed very I went from this kind of like this thick kind of not even bully. I was this tomboy.
Mm-hmm.
I went from being this tomboy to being very, very, very sexy girl. My body started shaping, and I had booty and legs, and I was looking good. And I remember walking into school, and I was a freshman, and this big, tall, gorgeous, very gorgeous black guy who was probably a junior. We had these phone booths inside, embedded in the walls in this high school. And I just felt this boy grabbed me and pulled me into this locker room, and he goes, "You're going to meet me tomorrow." He says, "You're fine. You look good." And all I'm seeing is his face. And he's like, "You're fine, girl." And he tells me his name, and I'm looking at him, and he goes, "I'm coming to get you. You're going to meet me right here tomorrow. We're not going to class tomorrow. You're going to my house." And I was like, "I am?" You know, I was so scared. So most kids would be scared about getting their ass kicked the next day. I was scared of meeting this boy who just decided to set his eyes on me,
mm-hmm.
right? And I ran so fast to my class, sat in my seat. Oh, I made it. Thank God. I made it. Okay. And I'm in my classroom, and this boy flung that door open, and I was in the very back, and he scanned the room, and all the girls were like, "Oh, hi, Tony. Hi, Tony. Hi." He's like, "What's up? What's up?" And he looked dead at me, and he goes, "You." And I'm thinking, where's the teacher?
Right.
And I just went, "Oh." And he goes, "You were supposed to meet me." Okay. I'll remember that. And nothing ever happened after that. He replaced me like that because there was another cute girl that walked by, and she ended up going with him.
That was probably what he did. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to replace you. You're going to regret this."
He would take girls home. I don't know I never knew what he did with those girls. Never knew. But, you know,
who was this? Was he just a student?
He was a student.
Okay.
He was a very, very handsome, very good looking. But, I mean, to me, he looked like a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Because here I am, 14, 15. He looked like a 20-year-old. And he was clearly 16, but he was tall. He was already a super huge kid, but slender. But approached me very Ike Turner. I thought, just, whoa.
Yeah.
And, so I ended up, I don't know how it started, but it did. And I ended up having a very productive, long affair with the high school proctor in my high school. And it was...
And for people who don't know, like, the proctor's like a guard.
Proctors are school guards, and they're...
Like a police officer.
They're over 18.
Yeah.
And I was 17. I had lost my virginity to my first love. His name was... I kind of skated over that. It was Dollar. They called him Dollar Bill, but his name was Bill. And he was a really, really talented dancer. Too much, too young, too soon.
Yeah.
And I gave up my virtue to him, and I remember it not hurting, and I thought that was bizarre. But I think it was because of all the athletics I was doing, and the stretching, and the kicking, and the this and that. And it ended up being amazing and tumultuous and sad and everything. And I loved him way too much, and he was way too advanced for me, and he had other plans in his life. And to this day, though, we are friends. He's in my life here and there. Every now and then, he'll message me a hello, and he's doing very, very well, and he is such a good person. I just love him. But he was my first love, and I thought that. Ever since Jason, who I considered the first time I felt love for somebody, I felt love for another person, like that wasn't a brother or sister.
Right.
It was a romantic love. So when I was able to unleash that with Bill, it was like, wow. So after that, went through that phase, and I'm in high school now, and not just I was in high school. I did lie to Bill about my age. I did tell him I was 18, and that was a whole other story where he discovered that I was not. And he was not happy about that. And I begged him, I love you. And he's like, you're the same age as my baby sister.
Get out.
But we ended up still staying together. And he took me, he broke my heart, of course. And I did stupid things to get his attention and all of that. So, but you're a kid. And so in high school, when I had developed this affair with the proctor, I want to say that probably was, in fact, to this day, when I look back at it, it was the hottest, sexiest affair I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
He was 22. I was 17.
Stop.
We did it in the teacher's lounge a couple times. So illegal. He'd be in jail.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
News, television.
Oh, yeah.
And to this day, I don't regret any of it. He was amazing to me. And it wasn't like older guy, little girl. It was, we weren't that far apart in age, and he looked a lot like Joe Rogan. Like when I see Joe Rogan,
okay.
I see him.
Yeah.
Except the proctor had long hair, it was black. He did end up shaving it later on. He really looked a lot like Joe Rogan, but more Latino.
Yeah.
Great body. But, I learned a lot with him in my little mini skirt and white boots, because mini skirts and white boots were hot back then. It was jean skirts and white boots. That's what you did. And then I ended up, with a boyfriend. I went on a couple dates. I went on a real date with this boy, Brian, sweetheart. He took me to go see Platoon when Platoon was released. I'll never forget that day. I was the kid that always really wanted to see real films. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to see cutesy. I wanted to see Biko, and I wanted to see like real, Angel Heart, and so that was that era. And so I go, I really want you to take me to see Platoon. This was the first war movie that was so graphic. A lot of people thought that Deer Hunter was graphic. Deer Hunter was a specific subject of these boys going into Vietnam, and but Platoon was like, you were there in Vietnam seeing what was happening. And when we went to see it, I'll never forget the rows that had trash bags over the seats. And I thought, gee, that's weird. Like, why are there trash bags over those seats, And Brian goes, I don't know. Oh, the movie starts. And all of a sudden I hear, ah, ah. And grown men were screaming. And I went, oh my God. And I heard, it's okay, Dad, let's go. And men were walking out of the theater. Vietnam veterans were in there seeing this film.
Too real.
The seats that were covered were because they puked on them. They threw up on them. And the movie people, the ushers, were cleaning the seats in between the showings, and they would cover the smell with trash bags.
Wow.
Brian went into my ear, and I'm looking at this scene, and it was the scene where not Bonds, but it's the scene where Willem Dafoe is still alive, and he's running, and he's saying, like, I'm still alive, because Bonds had shot him. That scene is when everybody started, and there was a lot, like, there was a scene too where Johnny Depp and they're taking the Vietnamese people, and they shoot that lady in front of the villagers. Like, that's when every Vietnam vet that was in that movie theater lost their shit and walked out of that movie screaming. But when Willem Dafoe was running and I held my hand over my face and I'm just crying, and my date, he can't stop looking at me. And he goes, Lisa, do you want to leave? And I went, hell no. I go, we cannot leave this. We have to be a part of this. Like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. Mm-hmm. And just Charlie Sheen's narrating, and when they did the Smokey Robinson song, and just everything, it's just, Platoon was my shit. It was my shit. And that's when I thought it was so cool when I read the book Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins. He talks about that song, and when he was talking about Platoon, I go, I know exactly what he's talking about. I know, that's my movie. That's my favorite film. Yeah. A war film. And it's weird to say war because I hate war, but I love the movies about them, and you learn so much. And but yeah, I remember him saying, "Do you want to leave?" And I go, "No way. You sit. We're staying. We're seeing all of this. I want to see all of this." And so it was huge impact in my life was Platoon. So yeah, and in high school, that's the affair between me and the proctor of that school pretty much fizzled out. It was no harm, no foul. I wasn't in love with him. It was a lot of fun. When school was over, and I went on with my life. I ended up going to Mount Sac. I was involved with this boy. I'll just say his nickname because it was Piggy, and he looked like he was a half. They tell him that he's half black and half Mexican. I don't know how true that is. Mm-hmm. He was adopted. I'm sure that he probably has black in him. I don't necessarily think it's half.
A fifth.
Maybe. Like me. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, so it's in my blood, but.
A tiny amount.
Yeah, very dark, very cute. Looked exactly like George Michael at the time. With longer hair. Great baseball player.
Okay.
Really good baseball player. And we were very volatile. We were very sexual as well. And that's when I pretty much stopped with the proctor, because I started dating Piggy. And we had a huge love affair of equal age. Like, it wasn't me with a man. It was me.
Right, it was more normal.
More normal. Every chance we got, we were screwing around. And the first time we did was at a party. Everybody threw a party. And he and I were at this party together, and our eyes met, and we started making out, and one thing led to another, and yeah, we started doing it in one of the rooms. We went in the pool together and did it in the pool. We did it every part of this party. We would find an open area. We would go do it in this area, and we fell in love with each other. We were just inseparable, and everywhere we went was together. I remember being at a house party, and we heard gunshots. They came to shoot up the party. Some opposite gang came to shoot up our party. And all the kids started running everywhere, and I can hear, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" And he was coming to get me, and drive-by shootings were really huge. This was around the time when Colors was released with Sean Penn, and that changed the way you saw movies as far as trying to control it, because it was gang related, and it was very realistic, but it wasn't realistic.
Right.
Looking back, like. But it was the first film about Crips and Bloods, and touched a little bit on the Cholos, but it was about those two major rival gangs. And drive-bys were really big, and
so was he involved in that at all?
He was involved in that.
So there was a real possibility you could get
involved in that, get shot. Oh my God, right? But he turned me on because it was that risk. It was like that scene with Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas when Ray Liotta hands her that gun from beating the guy's ass across the street for trying to grab on her. That's how I felt with Piggy. I thought, shit, he's hot.
How long did this last?
17 till 19.
Okay.
Almost 19.
And this was like part of college?
16, late 16, 17. No, this was high school. Going into. But now, mind you, we broke up, made up. And I remember when I first broke his heart, it was like the end of the world. Looking back, I think that he suffers from like either manic or bipolar or definitely emotional issues. He was severely brokenhearted. It was like the end of the world. His mother came after me. She would try to come after me with a shotgun because I broke her son's heart. And his sister tried to come after me. His sister was absolutely evil, mean, nasty person. But he loved me.
Why do you think that was? Was it jealousy, or was it?
I was white.
Okay.
They don't care that I was Puerto Rican. She don't look Puerto Rican. That's what she said. She don't look Puerto Rican. She look white. And that was it. That was it. And I thought, woman, I don't care how big you are. I will knock your. I didn't, but I didn't give her that energy because I thought I've got to be nice to this girl. It's only going to make it worse. It's only going to. I got to be nice to her when I can because she doesn't know my background.
Right.
I love taking down big women like that. Yeah. I loved it. I don't give a shit.
Right.
So, but out of respect for my man, I was like, I gotta kiss her ass. But I ended up running into her later on in life, but because of a boyfriend that I had, who ended up being my first psycho boyfriend, who did a lot of crazy shit to me. The first abusive. Piggy was abusive, in fact, and it was because he couldn't control me. And when we would go drinking Strawberry Hill. Strawberry Hill was this wine that was very popular in my generation, where we would go and we'd drink it in the park and get polluted. And for some reason, I was leaving, and Piggy didn't want me to leave. And he was like, "You ain't leaving." And I said, "I am leaving," because we got into some type of fight. And I remember just saying something to him, and I took off. And all of a sudden, I felt him grab me and throw me to the ground. And we were at this park, and we were with his friends. They all went to disperse. I didn't want to go. I went to leave. I don't remember why he was trying to make me go back. We got into a fight, and that was the first time I ever felt him grab me and push me to the ground. Oh. And I remember just an automatic defense comes right up at me, and I turned around and I was like, "Oh, you want to fight?" Yeah. And so I turned around, and we were fighting like two guys. Yeah. But I mean, swinging and pushing and grabbing, but he did overpower me, throw me to the ground, hit me. I hit the ground so hard without even knowing it. It just automatically came out of me. Help me. Mm-hmm. I screamed, "Help me," so loud. Because I realized, yeah, he's strong. Mm-hmm. And he's got me on the ground, beating me. Mm-hmm. And the cops came, and I remembered while he's beating me, the bag that I had, tasers were really popular back then. If you got it, they were getting popular. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, they weren't popular. They were popular
were getting
a girlfriend of mine got a hold of this thing called a taser. And she said, "You should carry it, Lisa, when you go out with this guy and with the places you guys go, and
put it in your purse.
Yeah, just your bag." And I was like, I'll hold on to it. Sure, all you do is click on it and hold on to him. Right. And I remember I grabbed my bag as we're fighting, and I got the taser out to tase him, mm-hmm. and the cops pulled us, and he instantly got off me. Yeah. And the police officer said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Take me home, please take me home," And I see him looking like, "You better not fucking say shit, like I'll fucking come get you, I said, "Just take me home." She says, "What is this?" I said, "It's a taser." And she's holding the click, 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 click. And she's like, "What does this do?" This is before cops had tasers.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know what it was. She was clicking it. She goes, "Well, here." She gave it right back to me. It's like, "Thank you. It's my friends. She gave it to me, and they're all, you'll be all right, and you need to stop going out with boys like that." Gave me the whole speech, and I went home.
Didn't listen.
Yeah. I ended up, of course, going back with him and screwing around, and it was all hormones and learning and sex and music. And in fact, I can't hear Keith Sweat's right and a wrong way. There's a right and a wrong way to love somebody. Like that was our jam when we were screwing in the room, and we did it to that whole Keith Sweat album. That was the biggest album. I want that baby. Like that was the biggest album during this time.
Yeah.
And so was Rumors. Look at all these rumors, dominant every day. Right. So these were the jams, and yeah, he ended up getting involved with something with this kid in the neighborhood. That a lot of men. This kid, who I won't say his name. He's another kid that was really, really good looking and screwed around with a lot of girls. And a lot of these girls had boyfriends, and this kid didn't care. He looked like Errol Flynn. I mean, he was, wow, Cuban, good looking. His brother hung around my boyfriend's group of people.
Okay.
But I'm going to call him Al. And Al, his little brother hung around my group of people. And Al was older than me. He looked like, looking back and I think about him, Errol Flynn. And on the corner of San Bernardino and Indian Hill Boulevard in the city of Pomona, he pulled over at a stoplight. And somebody behind him very calmly got out of their vehicle and aimed their gun at him and shot him in the head in that intersection. Oh my God. And got back in their car and drove away. But the thing is that Al, the bullet went through his head it grazed. And he got out of the car and grabbed his gun that was placed underneath his seat. Everybody had a gun. Grabbed the gun underneath his seat and just started shooting. And people grabbed him like, you're delirious, while he's bleeding from his head and was disoriented. And took him to the hospital. Word got out that Al got shot. And Piggy was already screwing around with a girl down the street that was also Al's girlfriend. That's how that connection happened.
Yeah.
And that's when I was at the house and I knew that he was screwing this girl around the corner. And it got around that Al was shot. The whole town was in an uproar. And there was this big time local drug dealer that was, everybody knew him, and he had this big big lifted Bronco. He drove around. Everybody knew him. Everybody bought drugs off of him, but he had a lot of influence, and he started driving around looking for whoever shot Al. I remember me trying to figure out where Piggy was, and I went to walk into this girl's house. I'll call her Mary. And I walked to her house, and there was Piggy's car. And I was like, okay. I put my hair in a ponytail, took my earrings off, and I crawled into that car, and I laid on my back, and I waited. And as I waited, I saw that big white Bronco drive by the car, and I thought, fuck, I'm going to get shot in this car. Because I had witnessed Piggy with his friends carry guns to go shoot up Al's house for reasons I don't know to me. And Piggy had a sawed-off gun in his pants. And they shot up his parents' home. And nobody got hurt. They were just making a statement. And I had laid down in this car, and I was waiting, and I waited, and here comes Piggy with Mary, and they're walking and his eyes glaze into the vehicle, and he sees me, and he goes, oh no. I see the look, and she said something in reference to me or something about them. All I saw was red. I crawled out of the car, and I said something like, you think you know, bitch, or something, and I cold cocked her in the face. She went spinning. Ah! And she's, oh my God. And then she comes at me again, and I hit her again, and I hit her again. And Piggy grabs me, and he's like, Lisa, please stop. Mm-hmm. And he picks me up, and he's carrying me away. And I'm all, yeah, fucking bitch. Blah. Meanwhile, I'm being stupid.
You lost it.
I lost it. So this is the first time I dropped my basket. So he's carrying me away, and he says, we'll talk. I'll go home with you. I said, you better go home with me. You better take me home. I said, you're not talking to her anymore. This is over. Okay, all right, fine. I said, let's go. He goes, let's go. Okay, we go walk into the car, and he doesn't walk in the car. He ends up going and he runs into her house. And I lost my mind. That's why whenever I hear that song from Carrie Underwood, when she talks about
Before he cheats.
I'm in hotel lights, carve my name into his leather seat. Yeah. I did that I turned around in the car and it was his mother's car. It was a Magnum. It was a black Magnum. I don't know who made Magnums, but it was this big black car. It was called a Magnum. And I had taken whatever I could find in this vehicle and threw it out of the vehicle, including a big white can of Aquanet, and I threw it at the front window of the house of Mary's house. I carved whatever I could find. There was something where I ended up cutting into the seats. I broke all the tail lights, cracked the windshields. Meanwhile, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. And all of a sudden you see these neighbors just running out in their nightgowns.
Yeah, this is at night.
This is at night. And this woman, like, please stop. Please stop. I know how you feel. I know what you're going through. And I said, you don't know. You don't have any idea what I'm going through. And I went into the car and I let the emergency brake off and I just let the car go down the street. I was like, fuck him and fuck you and fuck you. Like, I was just...
Lost it.
I lost my mind. And it's from
Why do you think you lost your mind?
Because of that was my first taste of the after effects of gaslighting and emotional abuse, of narcissistic emotional abuse. It was my first taste of what it was to be mentally abused by men, not just Piggy. Bill too. I mean, Bill didn't realize he was abusing me back then, but it was still emotional abuse.
Yeah.
All of it was,
the proctor, all the different people.
Yeah, these men that were abusing me. Yes, the proctor, the sexual abuse from my brother, the sexual abuse from my aunt's husband, and
it just all came out.
Yes. And when I say my aunt's husband, it was Bernie. I could say that because I have my aunts who have husbands who I love that are my uncles, but Bernie, who had did that to me. He didn't really do any. It could have been something awful. He had opened my top, and thank God my aunt came home, and that was as far as it went.
So bizarre to me that was just.
I was 4 years old. I remember seeing my white flat chest. I remember I was wearing this little top, and he'd wanted me to look for his wallet, and it was actually his bulge in his pants.
Oh God! Yeah.
And so when he got up to open my blouse, I remember my plain white chest. And all of a sudden I heard my aunt come home with groceries. He hurry up, get up. What are we doing?
That's when you know you're doing something wrong.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What's wrong? And so I remember being on my big wheel. I had this big wheel. and Bernie's washing dishes. And this is when we lived on the apartments on Leverett because we were neighbors. And I'm riding the big wheel in the house. And I go, Uncle Bernie. I was trying to normalize what happened to me. And I go, Uncle Bernie, remember when you made me find your wallet? Remember when you did that? And I just see him, and he calmly turns around and he goes, yes, I do. You want to play that again sometime?
Oh my God.
And I just, and I just,
nope.
And I took my big wheel. I never went there again.
How did you felt like you knew it was wrong, right? You instinctively knew it was not.
Something was wrong. Like, why is he doing this? This isn't his wallet. He's like, you want to take my wallet out?
No.
I was like, I'll never. That stayed with me for a very, very long time. And when
it all came out.
It all came out that day.
So back to from that as a child,
right?
It all came out at that moment.
Yes, because Piggy was really, really messing with my head because I had hurt him. I had hurt him by leaving him the first time going back to Bill. And so he made sure to really, really fuck with my head. And he did. And he ended up screwing my best friend. And my best friend broke my heart. She screwed him. And this is when God bless my mommy. My mommy is so incredibly smart, Tyler, because my mom hates card games. She hates them. And she says, because it's different when it's one-on-one, like you and I are playing cards. But when you start involving other people, that's when it's going to work its way up to being something sexual. And she said that was really popular in her era. Card games became swapping situations. And so, sitting with Piggy and my best friend playing cards, I had no idea that something was brewing between them. And that's why when I see those situations, I'm reminded of that moment. Don't play cards. And my mom would say, watch them. Mom, that's my best friend. Peggy's not going to do anything with her. And she's like, And she was right, And she ended up being pregnant by him. And
your best friend?
Yeah. Yep.
And this wasn't the same girl that was this the same girl that was when you were in the car and when you lost your shit?
No, that was Mary.
Okay.
This is, we'll call her
so he
Darla.
So he got
or Dartha.
He got 2 girls pregnant.
He got 2 girls pregnant. Although I don't think Mary, because later on I saw the baby that Mary had, and that baby was as white as snow.
So you don't think it was his?
No, I don't think it was anybody's, but whoever she was screwing. I was pregnant as well. So I had already had my first abortion with Bill. I remember when I found out that I was pregnant, and I was actually happy. And Bill was not. I was scared. And Bill's like, I'm not ready to be a father, And he wasn't. And I wasn't ready to be a mother. I was a kid. I was stupid, And I had my first abortion, and I thank God that during that time, I'm sorry that this happened, but it did. But I thank God that during this time, it was safe and legal, and medical was amazing. And it's not like today where it's such, like, people's rights are being taken. Not, back then it was...
And you were probably, what, 17, 18?
16 at that 16. Time. 16 going on 17.
Not ready.
With Bill. Not ready.
Yeah.
Not ready at all. So fast forward to 18, going on 19, I got pregnant by Piggy. And because he, at that time, I believe he already got my best friend knocked up. He knocked up Mary. We'll call her Mary. And I was too. And I remember just thinking, I'm not doing this. So I terminated that one as well. So.
How did you feel?
Awful. Like shit. Like defeated. Dumb. Just, how could I let this happen again? How stupid.
How did he feel?
Heartbroken. He expressed that. How he really felt, I don't know. I remember him saying to me, and I'll never forget it, we're in the garage area of my parents' backyard, and I'm telling him for the first time, and he says, he said something like, we can finally have something bring us together, like, and we're gonna get rid of it, like, and I got all this other bullshit going on. It was almost like he was having this moment of like, I was screwing around with these other women because I was so crazy in love with you and doing these things and...
What?
Yeah. That's how he expressed himself. He made me believe that. That's the gaslighting.
Yeah.
He made me feel like...
People overuse that sometimes. That's what that is.
I did this because I love you and you broke my heart.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the time, I'm thinking, that's the guilt. That's what I mean earlier in the beginning of this whole thing when I talk about guilt. The guilt that was instilled upon me to feel. And I also, I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of relief.
Yeah.
So because the shooting happened to Al's house and what happened to Al, and I dropped my basket, I went nuts. These police officers came. Mind you, I'm still screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm still yelling and ripping shit around. I am on fire. I'm just like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Please, please. I remember this lady, please let me just talk to you. Please, please. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're feeling. I know the heartbreak. You don't know how I feel. You don't know who that animal is in there. And all of a sudden, police officers just come. Pew, 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 pew. And Mary's parents are all, they're going to arrest your ass now, you little bitch. And the cops come. The mother comes running out. Everybody comes running out from Mary's house to talk to the cops except Piggy, and I think Mary did too. But anyway. And the cops are going off. And I remember going, you don't fucking... And the cop grabbed me. A male officer grabbed me by my blouse, lifted me up in the air, I went, and he slammed me to the ground. And
snap you out of it.
All of a sudden, that thing that was going on in my head.
Yeah.
And I shook my head, because he looked at me and goes, you shut the fuck up. Don't say another fucking word. What the hell am I doing? What is going on? I remember thinking that. What am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I? Yeah. Like, I didn't know where I was. I was like, I shook my head. I remember being kind of like these rose bushes, and I was on this brick wall, and I'm going, I got something. I got to say something. I got to say something. And I hear the mother go, yeah, you're going to go to jail, you little bitch. And she did this, and she did that. And I'm just seeing her mouth, and I'm seeing the anger, and I'm seeing her pointing at me, and I'm seeing her mouth moving, and I'm looking at her, and I go, I got something to say. I got something to say. And the cop goes, I told you to shut the fuck up. I go, the man that's inside that house, the boy that's inside that house is responsible for shooting Al Diaz. He's responsible for shooting him. And the cop looks at me and goes, shut your mouth. He goes, miss, I need to talk to you. He takes the mother, takes her to the side. And I'm like, he did. I know he did. I saw the gun. And all of a sudden, these plane cars pull up. And the guys in suits come and they get me. And they put me in the back of the car. And they take me away. And they took me to this questioning room. Just like in Law and Order with the mirror, the two-way mirror. They had brought donuts for me. They brought me treats. They brought me breakfast. We talked all night. I told him what was going on. I said, I don't know for sure if he's responsible, but I do know that he's responsible for this. This is what I saw. And I know in my mind, I thought, I'm doing this to protect me from going to jail. And I'm done with this motherfucker. And I'm done with this bullshit. And I know that this is what this guy did. And so after all was said and done, they were like, okay, Lisa, we're going to go ahead and, send you home. And I go, but what do I say? They're all, he's going to call you. You tell him we arrested you and that your parents came and picked you up. We'll go ahead and we'll take you home. Okay. So what's bizarre is I went home, went to my friend's house, and there was the next boyfriend, the psycho. This hot, he was in an Isuzu Amigo. It was this a little mini SUV. It was red, and he was half black, half white, and he had curly hair that went all the way down to the middle of his back. He was 6'5". His eyes were aqua green. He looked like Jason fucking Momoa, but he was had more
Afro side.
Afro.
Yeah,
if Jason Momoa had black in him.
Yeah.
Built like that. Looked like that. That same kind of look. Goatee beard. Stunning. Whitest teeth he ever saw. Beautiful caramel skin. And I was wearing this little outfit after I went to go tell Sylvia what was going on. And there he was. And he said something about my ass. And I told him, why don't you kiss my ass? He goes, you want me to kiss your ass? I said, I sure do. And I get in the car and I go home. This is the next day after being questioned by the police, by the undercover cops or whatever, the detectives.
Yeah.
I get a phone call, and I thought it was going to be Peggy. It ended up being call him Cyrus. And I picked it up, and he's all, "Hey, princess." And he always called me princess from that day on. And we just, like, "What do you want? How did you get my number?" And so he's like, "I gave him your number, girl." And part of me was like, he was so fine, so it didn't bother me. And it was a nice distraction from what was going on.
Right.
And yeah, and then Piggy ended up calling me. And I said, "Yeah, I was in jail all night." "What'd you say?" "I didn't say anything." "Oh, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right." He's all, you went crazy." I said, "Yeah, I know I went crazy." Right? So, what have you. I ended up being questioned. I was working in a sandwich shop, and the detectives would come and visit me. They were building their case. And at the same time, I was dating Cyrus. And Cyrus was like the Ray Liotta character in Henry Hill when he first started dating Lorraine Bracco. I don't know if you ever saw Goodfellas, but there's a scene where he takes her out and he tips the doorman, and he gets in the best table. They put a table. This is what Cyrus did. So smooth. Cyrus always got me front row to everything. He got me anywhere I wanted to go, anything I wanted to do. He made sure I was in the front seat. I remember I was so tan, and I was wearing this beautiful miniskirt dress that was like African Indian style pattern, and I wore this like lime green blazer with high red heels, and I had my hair up and tasseled, and here I am, 19, oof, hot, And I remember us walking down Hollywood Boulevard, because we went to this club called Hollywood Live, which is now where they film, like, I think Jimmy Kimmel or something there now. Well, that used to be a ginormous club, and we used to go dancing there and stuff. And I remember being just these men with head turners at me, and Cyrus would pull at the back of my jacket, and he'd say, "Look at her ass," because he was just enamored with my ass in this dress. And I was like J-Lo in this dress. I was just like, bam, bitch, and I had these red lips and green eyes and blonde hair, and I was, and here I am with this dude. And this was the first time I ever drove. I remember the first time I got into his car. It was a 300 SX. It was a Nissan T-top, and he took the T-tops down, so it was like a convertible. Mm-hmm. And he drove fast. He drove so fast. It was the first time I've ever been in a car with a guy who drove like a race car driver. Choo, choo. Just like a razor blade through lanes. Choo, choo. And I'm like, you're going so fast. He goes, "Show me your tits." He goes, "I'll slow down when you show me your tits." And I didn't. I was like, "No, I'm not going to show you my tits." He's all, you're going to end up showing me your tits, I'm like, oh. So here I am being attracted again to this bad boy guy. Mm. And
you think that was like just a pattern of something that you just were always drawn to?
Danger, bad, attention, a guy trying to control me.
Do you know why?
Maybe me not having my real dad. Maybe me feeling desired because I wasn't, and I'm not blaming my parents. My parents worked their fucking asses off to pay the bills for me. But I didn't have the parents like these upper class families have that made sure that Peggy Sue got into the university and made sure that Peggy Sue got. I didn't have that. Yeah. I had parents that were like, "We're not getting you a car. Get a job.
Figure it out.
You get a job. You walk to school." I walked to school every day. I didn't have parents that dropped me off. That's a joke. I walked fucking everywhere. I walked from Pomona to Chino to go be with my friends and hang out. That's what we did. We went roller skating at Holiday Roller Rink in Montclair, where the El Pollo Loco is now, in the sex shop that's there. It's so great. I love that. Anyway, that's another subject. There used to be a roller rink. It used to be called Holiday Roller Rink, and we lived there as kids. Our parents used to they would drop us off on Friday nights at 8 o'clock. We'd get picked up at 1 a.m. Like, that's what we did. With my Goody Brush and my Sergio Valentes and my Kissing Potion lip gloss and skating backwards and being badass, And so, the only thing I can think of is that this was another excitement. I loved the power that Cyrus had. When he walked into a room, people respected him immediately because they were intimidated by him. He was huge. He was Momoa. He had these strapping shoulders and this personality. He had no problem. He would, when we'd go to the fair, when the LA County Fair, he would drive into the employee lot. Sir, what are you doing? Oh, I'm so sorry. My mom works here. I have her keys. She wanted me to drop off her keys, and she works here. Over here. His mother wasn't at the fair, like that, but that's how we got in, you know. And he never paid for anything. Like, he got me, like, he would tip somebody, and it turned out what I ended up learning was he sold drugs. He sold crack cocaine, and I didn't know that. He didn't use it. He sold it. I remember him hiding a big bag of crack in a doll head of a doll that I was supposed to hold. And I thought, I can't do this. He's all, are you kidding me? He would make $5,000-$6,000 in an hour. And he drove down Holt Boulevard, and he would yell out, double up. And double up was when you would get two rocks for the price of one. And he told me, you see that hooker over there on Holt? I go, yeah. He goes, that's a cop. I go, you don't know it's a cop. He goes, watch. And when we drove through the certain neighborhood on Holt Boulevard, on the certain part of this avenue, the real hookers did come out. And the real hookers looked like bums. They had no teeth. They were just dirty and tired, and they were sucking dick for rock, you know. And I'm like, how could you do this? He's all, come on, girl, what do you think's gonna pay for dinner tonight? Or, you know, like, that's what we did. Right. But after dating him, he had a he was the first. He easily has an 11-inch penis. That was when my doctor said, no more doggy style, because it was just, I would get chronic bladder infections.
Interesting.
Yes. So it was the first time. So I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. Like, I don't mind sharing that, because I don't know. Like, you've got people that are all about big dick, big dick, big dick. Big dick is great, but you know what? Big dick, it's really not that great, because, you know, more problems. Our little bodies, our little pelvises, you know, I just, you know, I like just something just, you know, I don't mind being just this nice fit. It doesn't need to be this, you know, because it really is not good for you.
Apparently, according to your doctor. You are not doing doggy style anymore. You understand? She goes, you're in here every other week. And I'm like, I know, but I can't help it. It's like an OBGYN or something? Yeah. She's like, you're not, you know, but sex was incredible with Cyrus. He was incredible with it. And he was very individual. He loved photographing and all that kind of stuff. And he was very, he used that big dick. And the reason why I do bring this up is he used that big dick to control me. I remember being, going to go out with my friends to the mall, and he goes, you're not going anywhere with him. I'm on the phone with him. He goes, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to be there in 5 minutes. I said, I'm leaving. I'll be back, and I'm going to have a day with my friends. He quickly pulled up in front of my house, and he says, oh, hi to my friends. He was always charming. Hey, how's it going? In the bedroom right now. Okay. He put me in the bedroom, laid me on, you're not going, whipped that thing out and stuck it right inside me. He says, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, you know, and he would pound the hell out of me, and then he's like, okay, you can go then. He's all, but you make sure you're back by this time. And I'm like, God, Lisa. I'm like, it's fine. Like, he would do those things to me. It's kind of abusive in his own weird.
He was erotic to him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of erotic when I talk about it, but it really wasn't. It was very controlling and abusive. It's
different when it's a mutual game or
some kind
of,
you know. Right. But I'm like, what are you doing? You know. And he's like, you're not fucking. And he made me just look at him. You're not fucking going anywhere. You know. I'm gonna make sure, like, I'm gonna do this to you, so that I'm basically marking my spot. Right. So you know to behave. And so he did that. Whenever I didn't do anything that he said, I would get it, you know. And he would, I remember this dress that I had on, the skirt that I had on, and I went to bend over to pick something up, and he grabbed the back of my head so fast, pulled my hair, pulled me right up, went right to my ear, and he says, "Don't you ever fucking bend over like that again." And then when his parents, because I went to meet his parents, who were wacky, they left, and right when they left after that happened, he goes, "I'm going to show you what happens like when you wear this type of dress," and he pounded me to death, like not friendly, like really hard. And yeah, it was crazy, and I was controlled by this.
Manipulated.
And I thought, okay, this is what feeling desired and wanted is,
So it seems like you've been chasing that desire to be wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you were going out and partying and
I was always with Cyrus. No matter where I was with Cyrus.
When did that end?
When he punched me in the face and cold cocked me in the face, and I had had enough.
Yeah. How did you end something like that? How did you?
And it goes even deeper than that on how it ended, because this one time I was just tired of him telling me what to do, and he left a message on my parents' voicemail, and he said, "Princess, I know you think you're going out tonight, but you're not going anywhere, and you better not go anywhere. And you know what I mean. You better not go anywhere, Princess. I swear to God, I'm going to be there in an hour." Fuck him. I got my dance pants on, and I went and I went to go to this club that was on Holt Boulevard. It was called Escapades, and it was a hip hop club. What's his name? He's a comedian. D.L. Hughley.
Okay.
He would do his comedy there. A guy that I used to screw around with was a DJ there. Dennis. And he, real quick, I'll revert to that when I was at a house party and I saw Dennis. He supplied the DJ equipment. I was 18 years old, and I thought, who is that? He was a beautiful African-American, light-skinned male. We had an amazing affair. I'm telling you, I had amazing affairs with these amazing men, but somehow Aaron got in there, and so anyway, I was dancing at this place at Escapades, and I'm dancing to "Everybody Dance Now." Oh no, not that one. It was that song was out, but it was the other one. It was "I've got the power."
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, and I'm dancing. I got the power, and I'm dancing with my friends, and the song's going, and I'm like, what? It's like I'm looking at them, and the bad joke's on me. I'm like, what? What are you looking at? And they're all, and they're looking at me. They're looking at me, but they're looking at what's behind me. And I didn't even turn my head, and I just felt this yank. And I went back, and it's Cyrus, and he's pulling me to the ground. I'm on the ground, kicking and screaming, just like in love. I compare it to, because this shit is like movies. It's stupid. Angela Bassett was getting her hair pulled by Larry Fishburne in What's Love Got to Do With It? Ike Turner and Tina Turner. Mm-hmm. He's pulling her hair by the hair, and she's being dragged on the ground. That's what happened. I was so triggered when I saw that movie. I'm like, oh, I know exactly.
I mean, she got the hell beat out of her all the time.
I know exactly what that feels like when they yank you like that and pull you by your hair. And I'm kicking. I'm all, let me go. Yeah. And he's laughing, pulling me, and I'm trying.
It's a game to him.
I'm holding on to my hand, his arm, from pulling my hair out. I'm relieving the pain and kicking, and nobody helped me.
Why do you think that was?
Because he's laughing. I think that confused people. And he's all, I told you not to, Lisa, I told you not to go. You don't listen to me. She's drunk, and I'm kicking and screaming, let me go. Dennis.
Now you're the crazy one to them, It's like this manipulated kind of this whole situation.
And Dennis, I didn't know, was seeing this. And my hair is being pulled out. And he's laughing, and he gets me to that front door, and he rings flings me around like a rag doll. And I stand up and I go, you fucking asshole. I'm leaving. He goes, go ahead. Go try to start your car. Go ahead. Go try to start it. You can't start that car. You ain't going fucking anywhere in that car. And he had already, like the week prior, was after me. He was going to try to beat me up. And I went into a fetal position in my Volvo. And he tried ripping off, and he almost did succeed ripping off my car door. Because he was so big, he couldn't crawl into the crawl space where I was in the back of my seat. Because I had kicked both legs to the seats to keep him forward. And he's all, God damn it, you never fucking listen to me. And he's rocking the whole car. That was the week prior. So, when he threw me out, and I said, I'm going to take my car. And he's like, you can't start that car. And, well, you fucking asshole. What'd you do to my car? He's all, you're never going to drive that car again. He's all, you're going to get in my car right now. And I said, no, I'm not getting in your fucking car. And all of a sudden, very calmly, there's Dennis. And he says, what's up, man? What's going on? And I run to my car. And I can't start it. I'm like, what the fuck? He'd removed the distributor cap, and he threw all kinds of shit into the engine. It wouldn't even turn. It was rocks instead. He made sure that I wasn't going to be able to drive away in this car.
That's definitely psychotic.
And I got into his car because he drove the car to me, and he says, get in this car right now. And he looked at me like, if you're not going to do it now, I'm going to get you. If you don't get it now, I'm going to get you later. And Dennis had a conversation with him. And I think by me getting in the car, Dennis was like this. What I didn't realize was that Dennis had pulled a gun on him and told him, you're going to get the fuck out of here.
And who was Dennis again?
Dennis was the DJ at this club that I also met when I was 18 and had a passionate affair with. So
kind of knew you.
Yeah. So gorgeous. Anyway, Virus drove me home. And
and you're like 19.
Yeah. Oh, and this is
older?
No, I'm 19.
Roughly 20.
Yes,
19,
I'm
20.
19 because I had already testified against Piggy for shooting up. He ended up going to jail for that. He didn't know I was going to testify against him, and I walked into that courtroom, and he was flabbergasted, and he ended up doing time for that. We talked in the car. Then I ended up getting out of the car. My car got fixed. They took all the rocks out of it. They put the distributor cap back on, and I did drive my car back home.
So he'd essentially kind of like made your car
not work just by pulling that cap out.
You guys were able to put it back together.
I pulled a sock out of it.
It seemed like it had
Everybody was helping me.
It seemed like it had been destroyed, but it wasn't. It was able to be adjusted.
Everything's in blotches because I ended up driving my car home because Cyrus got inside of my car when I was at my house. He was already there, and he got inside my car. Why do you make me do this? Why
do you make me do this?
And
that's
I'm
like
going,
the classic.
And I'm like, you're an
abusive
asshole.
Guy.
I said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I am done with you. I'm done with you. You're not done with me. You're never done with me. Don't you know we're supposed to be together? No, we're not supposed to be together. You're crazy. I'm not doing this with you. Matter of fact, I can't even stand you fucking me. I can't stand that big fucking thing. It's disgusting. I fucking hate it. What?
Oh.
I go, I fucking hate it. I can't even have an orgasm with you. So that thing is, I'm always going to the doctor. I said, it's disgusting. And all he heard was, you don't have orgasms? You're faking your orgasms with me? I go, yeah. Okay. So I'm basically wasting my time here. I go, yeah, fuck you. Get the fuck out of my car. Fuck you. He goes, okay, fine. And he acted like he was going to get out of my car. And that's when he, full cold fist, punched me with all of his might to my face. Bam! And I remember hearing a crack. And I went, and I'm looking, my driver's side window's here. So I'm at the window like this. And I'm trying so hard not to cry. And I turned it into laughter. And I go.
That's when you know you're done.
I go, you hit like a bitch. You hit like a bitch. Get the fuck out of my car. He goes, why do you make me do this to you? And he starts crying. I go, get the fuck out of my car. You've got a choice right now. Either you get the fuck out of my car or you're going to go to jail. You can get the fuck out, get in your car, go home, or you're going to go to jail because I'm going to throw your ass in jail. I swear to God. And he gets out of the car.
Never saw him again.
Crying. Oh, no. I saw him again. No, I'd stayed away from him. I broke up with him. There's a girl that lived up the street on Raylene from my parents' house. My parents' street goes east and west, and there's a street that goes north and south that goes down to my parents' street. Mr. Leach had adopted foster kids into his home, so he always had kids there. There was this girl there that was probably about 15. And Aaron was going over there. I don't know how he started going over there, but he did. But there was also this, he made sure I would see him. And there was also this mysterious black guy that was walking around my house, looking at my house. Well, who is this person? I'd be at the store, and this black guy would be there. I would be anywhere, and this guy would be there. And I'm in a line getting ready to go inside of Escapades. And I looked in line, and there was that guy. And I had enough. I go, hold on to my shit. And I walked over to him, and I go, who the fuck are you? Why the fuck are you following me? What? No, I want to talk to you. I got to tell you something. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Why are you following me? I'm here to give you your house key back. I don't want your house key. And I go, what are you doing with my fucking, this is my house key. He's all, Cyrus gave it to me. He gave it to me. Big Yellow gave it to me. And I go, what? He wanted me to break into the house and get you. Like, so it turns out this guy was convicted of like battery and rape and all this stuff, and he got out. I guess Cyrus had met him when he was in jail, when he did a little stint in jail for something. I don't know, maybe the guy owed him. But he had felt so bad, he ended up giving me my own house key and apologized and said, you'll never see me. And I never did see him again. But I just was like, this guy's a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. So I didn't see him again for a very, very long time. It was over, and I started a new relationship with Hector. Hector was a bouncer at this club restaurant, Black Angus, which is still around. Well, in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, Black Angus was the shit for dancing and clubbing, and Hector was a bouncer there. And he had long hair and a ponytail, and we hit it off, and it was my first normal relationship in a long time. And he was actually the first boyfriend that wasn't abusive to me, wasn't controlling to me. In fact, encouraged me. If I wanted to wear something skimpy, all right. Like, he loved it, you know. And we spent all our time at the beach. It was great. I mean, he had, you know, his mom had this wacky man in her life that was weird. But other than that, I mean, it was a normal relationship. And then Cyrus came around once he caught wind of that. And they both rode motorcycles. And Cyrus had a fetish with pepper spray at this time. And he went up to Hector on his motorcycle. And Hector looked right at him, not knowing who he was. And he pepper sprayed him in the face. And I was like, well, it turns out Hector ended up getting off of his bike, and he beat the living shit out of Cyrus. Never saw him. So I never saw him. A police officer came to my home. This frustrated, very tall, black cop, Philip, I think was his name. Nice guy, but unfortunately, very frustrated police officer. And he says, Lisa, I can't remember how he knew to find me, but he did. And he was like, you need to tell me where he is. And I said, why? Because he's pepper spraying people in their cars. So Cyrus got a kick out of people being shocked. And like, if they looked at him in the car, and he'd drive away. Like, he was crazy. You know? And then turns out like a year later, that cop got in trouble for planting evidence on a clearly known drug addict, drug dealer. He couldn't catch him, so he was planting evidence, and they caught him. And of course, his career was over. But he was just so frustrated because he knew what the fuck was going on, right? I was totally on that guy's side. Like, I'm like, oh, that poor Philip. Like, I know that he was frustrated. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so then during this whole time, I was dancing at a club called Club Metro, and I was always dancing there, and this club was probably the most perfect nightclub I've ever been to in my life. And I've been to a lot of nightclubs. A lot of the party scene started to die in Pomona, and people started going to clubs more and more. In fact, there was an underage club that I went to growing up. It was called Grand Central Station, and it was 18 and under. Bizarre.
Mm-hmm. They still have those somewhat.
Yeah. Well, before Metro was the Metro bus, it was called RTD, and I used to take the RTD. You pay the RTD 30 cents, and it would take you anywhere you wanted to go. But we used to take the bus down to Grand Central Station, smoke cloves, and dance to Nina Hagen and The Cure, and we'd look in the mirror and talk and do New Romantic, because New Romantic was also something that was really popular in the early 80s. And when I started going to Metro, my whole world kind of just was rocked, because I remember walking in there for the first time, and the very first song that was on was I remember exactly what the song was. It was by Love and Rockets. I don't know what color your eyes are, baby, but your hair is long and brown. And it was the right side, and I saw podiums, and I saw go-go dancers wearing these extraordinary costumes. This was the side that was way before its time. This guy that was coordinating the artwork inside the alternative dance room was going to New York and getting ideas in Europe and bringing them here to this club. This Russian guy owned this club. It was called Club Metro. And then there was the funk room. That room had all of the African American black culture, hip hop, music, hardcore. And then there was the pop room. And the pop room played all the trendy, pump the jam, pump it up, right? So that was in there. And inside this room was more bounce to the ends. And then you go over to this other room, and they're playing The Cure, they're playing Love and Rockets.
You could find what you liked.
Oh man! And when I first walked in that alternative room, it was Greek themed, and they had hired models, and they built a stage like a Greek. What do you call those, Tyler?
The columns.
Columns. And a big fat guy named Fred was wearing a toga with the greenery
Nero.
on his head, and these models were feeding him grapes on the stage.
Hedonism.
Mm-hmm. And then when girl was doing, it was all with fans, and I was like,
yeah.
And the screens on the side of the club, of the walls, were playing movies. And this room is huge, I thought. The dance floor was huge, I thought. And there's podiums where go-go dancers are. And I thought, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. And to this day, I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing. Don, who was running that program, he was way before his time on all that stuff. He was way ahead of fashion and what was hot, bringing it to the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The next theme was airplanes. He had built an airplane, put it in the center of the dance floor like a disco ball.
Like a disco ball,
yeah. And it flew, and it flew like this, and a model was sitting in it with a leather hat and goggles.
Oh.
And that was her job, and everything was an airport. Everything was turned into an airport. It was incredible, and all I wanted to do was go-go dance. That's all I wanted to do. And he wouldn't hire me because I was short and chunky. He hired all these like 6 foot tall, statuesque. But Mark, who was the DJ there, he's like, you got to give her a chance because this chick can dance. And then Mark finally runs up to me and he goes, Lisa, I'm going to start you go-go dancing on Sundays. He won't hire me. I don't look like those models. He goes, I get to say who dances on Sundays. You can do it. We pay you $50 under the table. Okay. So I went up on that podium and I stood up there, and it was a different view, and I'm looking at all these dancers, and Mark's ear to ear smiling. And the very first song that he played for me, and it was first released, nobody ever heard of it. It was called Losing My Religion from REM. Oh, life is bigger. It's bigger than you, and you are not me. And I'm dancing, and he's just ear to ear, and I'm not doing sexy. I am dancing and expressing how I feel about this song, because I did love this song immediately when I heard it. And everybody was around the podium going, yeah, because I wasn't doing some of the girls were doing the hoochie stuff and being, like, I really don't want to be here, but I'm hot and I'm sexy.
Yeah.
And here I am doing I'm dancing.
Like actually dancing.
I'm taking my leg and I'm lifting it up. I'm holding it. I'm dropping it. I'm dropping it to the ground. I'm getting back. And I'm like, wow, man. And Don ended up taking a peek at me and he goes, put her on Thursdays. You know, he was so angry.
Yeah.
You know,
begrudgingly, like,
because he's fucking all the other girls, but I'm not fuckable to him because I wasn't this. Who was hot back then? The supermodels. I wasn't Linda Evangelista or Kate Moss. Yeah. Kate Moss was like totally his type. And here I am, coming in there and it's like, no. So
you're on size 0.
Yeah. Here I am, size 10, with my tutu on and my bustier, my tutu and my I didn't want to get too sexy though. And Mark liked that too because he was like, be yourself. So I would wear my suspenders with a bra. I did that whole express yourself look with Madonna, pinstripe pants with my spyglass. And I would do stuff on there. And I remember Jim, a gay guy that was dancing on the other podium, and he had this big cow head that was glowed in the dark. And he wore that big cow head on his head, and he'd dance the whole time. And he started getting dizzy and fell head first into the crowd because he was starving himself to get thin. And yeah, he ended up dying of AIDS later, but he was an incredible dancer and so sweet. And then one day I'm over on the pop side, and this guy Danny comes up to me and he says, you need to come over and meet my friend. He wants to meet you. I go, what? Shut up. Serious. Your friend wants to meet me. Yeah, my friend wants to meet you. And I had already been seeing this guy Ramon, this Puerto Rican guy Ramon, who was a really good dancer, but a ladies' man. And I never took him seriously. He was another drama queen. And because of my experience with Piggy and Cyrus, I was already over that kind of stuff. So Ramon was kind of laying on that kind of style thick, and I just knew it like the back of my hand. And I was just like, nope. And so I saw this guy drunk as a skunk, and his head was on the table. And he looks up at me and he says, hey, and I go, yeah, he really wants to meet me. The following week, I'm in that same room, and I turn around, and there he is standing behind me with a leather jacket on, grinning at me, super tall. And I go, hey. He goes, hey. So sweet, so nice. Want to dance? Okay. And I go out there, and I'm dancing, and he's just kind of moving. He's just, and I'm kind of like, okay, I shouldn't show off my dancing skills because this guy's not really, he's just kind of like moving with me. Dressed like Morrissey, like, kind of had the pompadour and Doc Martens white t-shirt, blue jeans. And we ended up hitting it off. We talked on the phone for hours, and his name was Matthew Greg Sheffield, and I loved him very much. Thank you. We were the 90s. He took me to every Lollapalooza, all the concerts. We went everywhere together. We were best friends. I loved him very much. Sorry. And I'm saying his name just like, whew.
The first, good relationship you'd had in your life. Yeah,
because my relationship with Hector just kind of fizzled out, like mutually. It wasn't anything major. And he had his flaws, of course, but he was, all in all, Matthew was awesome. He's an awesome memory. And he loved doing mosh pits. He loved Tool. He took me to go see the Wallflowers in Pomona. They played at the Glass House, and we were late. And he was a big boy. And I was like, damn it. And he goes, what? And I go, we're in the back. And he's like, do you want to go to the front row? And I go, yeah. And he goes, hold on. He knew to do this. Whenever he wanted to plow through people, he had me hold on to the back of his belt behind him. And he would, boom, yay, I'm in the front row. You know? And I was in the front row. And, are you happy now? Yes. You know, and he would put me on his shoulders, and when I couldn't see, and he would do all these things with me. And he did not like me hanging out with my gay friends. He didn't like that at all. When I started hanging around Joey and Jeff, he was not happy with that.
How come? Was it the influence, or was it was he jealous, or?
He didn't like me hanging around. He just didn't. It made him uncomfortable to be around, because my gays were gays, and the people that would come over were gay, like a group of people. It was the gay community.
It was still.
He was like,
yeah.
And this is still when it was,
yeah,
not accepted.
Yeah.
You know, this is when people still think that gay is a choice.
Yeah.
And I'll say it the best way I can, the way that Joey told me. He goes, Lisa, I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican, Catholic. Why would I choose to be gay?
Let me just make this hard on myself for no fucking reason.
Let me be outcasted and beat up, you know. And he goes, and he's very feminine, and he's very, you know, he's like, girl, you think I would choose to be this way? You know. And I'm like, people don't, they're stupid. They still think it's a choice, you know. They think
I've met people even today that
it's a sexual deviance or something. No, stupid ass. No. And so, when I started hanging around Joey and Jeff, it was awesome. It was fun, and I knew that they would party, and I knew that Joey was into doing speed, and he wasn't creepy about it. He loved sharing the wealth, and that was what you did.
Yeah.
It was normal, especially in the gay community. Methamphetamine, speed was very, very big in the gay community.
In the 90s especially.
Because it was very sexual, and you know, your inhibitions are out the window, and you're just, you know, having a blast, and you're wired, and you're awake, and you know. And that and poppers. Poppers are huge in the gay community. And I remember going to the house to meet them, to go dancing, and there was a lines of speed on this CD. And whenever Joey and I would get ready, we would blast Lisa Stansfield's first album. Been around the world, nah, yeah, I can't find my baby. And we're listening to this whole album, getting ready, putting on our makeup. Girl, do a bump. I'm not doing that shit. I told you, my brother fucking does that. I'm not going to end up like my brother and putting on my makeup. And he's all, okay, well, because we're going to be out all night, girl. You're going to want that energy. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to be fine. And I was working all day. And the straw was there. And I said, fine, fuck it. And I took that straw and I snorted that line. Tyler, I snorted that whole thing. And it burned, and the rush, and I just felt like my blood flow was like going like this. And all of a sudden I went, and I was like Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, let's run. You know, your heart all of a sudden just is. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Let's get ready. And we're just putting on our makeup, do our hair. Do another one, girl. No, I better look, I'll split this in half. Okay, good. Let's go.
Just chasing the dragon.
Just chasing the dragon. After that, you never get that high again.
Yeah.
Ever. So we went to Rage in West Hollywood, and everybody there was doing bumps. I met a girl there who took me to the bathroom, and she's like, girl, this is real coke. This is great coke. And I was like, oh, cool. So I did that. All of a sudden, I turned into goddamn Stevie Nicks, man. I'm sitting there and doing coke. This is the first time I've done this drug. And so we danced and did this and that. And so I kept going out. We went to Access. I was living in the gay community, in the club scene.
So did you just drift away from your boyfriend, or?
Matt and I were still together. I was living a lie with him, never sharing with him that I was partying like that. Every chance that I got, I was doing a bump. We'd go to Magic Mountain. We lived at Magic Mountain together, too. I'd go in the bathroom, and I'd take a long time because I was making lines in the bathroom and snorting and coming back out. And in my head, I'm thinking Matt never suspected anything, but I think looking back, I'm sure he did, but he just didn't really say anything. His loathing grew for Joey and Jeff.
And he was just increasingly blaming them.
In fact, I know it was really hard on my birthday.
Which fair. I mean,
yeah. He took me to Universal Studios and he goes, we got to leave. I'm taking you to Joey and Jeff's house for some bullshit dinner. Okay. And I was like, what? And it turned up
for your birthday?
It would end up being a surprise party. And Matt's all surprised. And it was this big surprise party. And all my friends were there, not just my gays. All my friends were there. And Matt was a good sport. And they were like, Lisa, oh my God, there's a police officer looking for you. And I was like, what? Oh no, my tags are expired on my car. And the police officer standing there and goes, are you Lisa Huff? And I go, yes, I'm so sorry, my tags. He goes, yeah, I'm here for more than just your tags. And I looked down at his feet and I went, oh my God, it was a stripper. They hired me a stripper. Oh. He took it all off. Everybody screamed. Matt's putting money down my blouse and all this other stuff. And at this time, Matt was working a lot. Matt was working graveyard shifts. And because he was working graveyard shifts for UPS at the airlines, loading up planes, I was out with my friends. It gave me an opportunity to be without my friends. It was great.
It was perfect timing.
It was perfect timing.
He would never really miss you anyway.
Right.
You'd be sleeping, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And you didn't need to sleep because you were on cocaine.
Right. I was on cocaine and meth. And
which has, back then I know it was a lot more fluid with the usage. Today it has a real Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah. I can't watch
vibe.
I won't.
But back then it was a party thing.
I cannot watch Breaking Bad. I've never watched it. I can't. I watched 2 episodes of it, and
it's really good to watch Malcolm in the Middle and then watch it, because then you're watching him just go from this happy dad to to what he is in the show. But
I'm going to share with you something very, very funny about methamphetamine. So when you're hooked on methamphetamine, or when you're hooked on doing it, because it actually was an easy drug for me to kick on my own, very easy. But when you're a user, and let's say you haven't done any for the past 2 days, the minute you smell it or you're around it or you see it, you just shit. You have to shit. You have to shit right then and there. You run to the bathroom and you shit like you're just Mount St. Helens, just explosive shit.
Really?
Yes.
It just mentally
any true
triggers you.
Meth head knows that's true. If you haven't seen it, smelt it, did it, if you've been off of it for more than a day or two, and then you see it, hold on guys, I'll be right back.
That'd be a tough watch.
You just shit your brains out. I don't know if Breaking Bad ever touched on that. If they didn't, they should have, because that's a very realistic side effect of methamphetamine.
I think it's more about the emotional trauma than the physical side.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it's I love Bryan Cranston. I've always loved Bryan
Cranston. He's brilliant.
But it's even for me, it was one where you have to, you can watch it in batches. It's not something I can sit and watch the whole thing. Some people can watch the whole season in one day. You just can't do it. It's too dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
And it was meth and coke, all of that started to be around like normal. I hardly ever purchased it. Yeah. Not until that final years. The final year. I never, it was always there. It was there like how this wine and spirits are here. It was in the room.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It was there. Yeah. Somebody was talking on the end, doing a bump. You want some? Oh, sure.
It didn't have the same stigma it does now.
No, it was at parties. It was normal. It was in restaurants. Bartenders in the restaurant industry, everybody was on it to keep up with the energy. I really think Adderall has taken its place. Yeah. Because a lot of people, pill popping in general.
A lot of people now, and it's shocking.
Yeah.
It's shocking how many people, and people that would say, no, I don't know. And
my left nostril is permanently damaged from that stuff. When
sniffing anything. And
Yeah.
in general, I think
when I blow
too
my nose,
much.
blood still always comes out, or if I get sick, that side gets it the worst, or that was my side, was my left nostril, and you had to balance it out. But I always, for some reason, I got the killer high from the left, and and it was normal to do. And then I started smoking it and all this stuff, and so Matt and I, the pain of me losing Matthew in our relationship didn't exist because I was so high.
And so your life just kind of
We faded
away.
and we broke it off, and he moved to Las Vegas.
The high, I guess, made you just kind of unfeelingly fade away from someone who you really cared about.
Yes, because
And
you're so numb. You're too busy chasing your next high. You're too busy doing that because that's all you're thinking about is getting your next high so that you can go to work, so that you can clean the house.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about anything else except that, and staying up all night and just addicted to that taste in your mouth and that feeling in your mouth. And we ended up fading out, and he moved to Las Vegas, and I got in a relationship with someone at work, and that faded. He looked exactly like Robbie Benson, and he was a ganja head, so it didn't work. Emotional issues, temper tantrums. Every time I went to his house, something was broken or ripped off the wall because he didn't get high. He was so funny. But, we had great sex, and he cooked amazing breakfasts for me in bed, but he was not healthy for me. And a busboy at my work was asking about seasonal Laker tickets. And for some reason, on my apartment on the 3rd floor, I was getting the LA Times delivered to my front door. And I told that to my coworker, and he said, "Oh, you think there's seasonal Laker tickets in there?" I go, "Yeah, dude, I see them all the time." And so that night I went home, did a couple bumps, saw the seasonal Laker tickets, and that's when I found Arthur's ad in the paper.
We're going to take a quick little break, let you take a little break, and then we'll come back with the rest of your story.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're almost there.
Awesome.